Hello and welcome to Table Reads on ScriptCamp. I am your host, Gray. And for anyone new, what we do at this event is read through some scripts our members have submitted and give feedback. If you choose to participate in the form of voicing a character or giving feedback, you will be pistachioed. I will give you script coins. And script coins are a currency here on the server you can use to buy various merch, or if you have 100 of them, a full name
Oh, sorry.
TV pilot reading. Yes, senor. Do you have a question? Well, sweet. Let's see. Our scripts today appears to be Bizarro World from Pollock. This is a survival TV pilot. The logline is a group of superpowered individuals find themselves displaced in a strange post-end world and must survive its many terrors and find a way, if there is a way, home. Feedback we're looking for, character feedback, is the mystery of the world well paced and executed. Content warning for possible police brutality. All right. And Pollock, you usually don't use your microphone, right? If you want to type something, or if you don't have anything to say before we start. And also, don't be nervous. It's okay. Everyone's nervous when their script's about to be read. But the goal is to have fun, learn, make friends, try not to die. Here we go. I'm going to read out some parts from the script. We're only going to read the first 5 pages, by the way. So I will handle direction, the action lines for the script. And if you want a part, just call it out, and I will bestow it upon thee. Anna, female, 22. You want for the part of Anna.
I do.
Thank you, Lasagna. And Sci-Fi Babe / Dessa wants to be a saucy sci-fi babe. Who's got it in them?
Joel Gurman.
Oh, you want it, Joel?
Yeah.
Thank you. Truly a hero of our times. Pikachu Hoodie Girl / Laura, female. Anyone for Pikachu Hoodie Girl? Sounds like an awesome character.
I'll take it.
Thank you, Morgana. I trust you. Who wants to be Gizzy, male? Anyone for the part of
Who is this?
Gizzy, Gizzy.
Oh, okay, Casey.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be them, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Run. All right, Elf Cowboy / Gwandafear, male. Anyone for Gwandafear? It's an elven name if ever I heard one. Nacho, is it okay if I cast you?
I might be stepping away for a second if I have a call.
Oh, that's okay.
Is there anyone else who can read the part? Anyone?
Yeah, I'll probably read like one of these last 2 here.
Yeah,
Also,
I can read one. I'll take another one.
Okay. Also, there's like weird staticness coming from your end, Joel.
Sorry. There's the fireplace, and you can hear the crackling of the fire.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sounds
that's
cozy,
okay.
Joel.
It is.
Does sound nice. Okay, so I'm gonna give you Gwandafear, Joel. There's a cast list. I'm gonna be half orc. And let's all get this PDF open. All right, here we go. Interior elevator, night. Huge, flickering lights. Several people of various sizes and shapes lying on the floor in various positions, some inhumane. Focus on Anna, looks early 20s, redhead, French braids, freckles, whose eyelids start to shift. Then, a second later, she gasps awake, a gasp that turns into a scream as she realizes where she is.
What? Where am I?
She examines herself and comes to a horrible realization as she looks at her hands.
Who am I? I don't remember. My name is Anna?
She is confused.
Yes, that's my name. At least the name I thought of. Better than no name.
As she talks, one of the bodies in the elevator shifts. It lifts itself up, at first the size of a regular man, then growing taller and taller until it is a giant but incredibly thin man, nearly 9 feet tall. Anna looks terrified, frozen, has not 2 but 3 glowing red eyes.
What?
There we go. As stare down at her, she screams and thrusts her hands out, and when she does so, a ball of fire erupts from her hands, lighting up the elevator and hitting the giant in the chest, throwing him back a bit. Anna is so astonished by the ball of fire that erupted from her hand that she can only gasp as Gizzy recovers and reveals himself. A bald cyborg face, death maw around his mouth, and 3 bright red eyes stare down at Anna.
Who are you? What are you? Where am I?
Gizzy regards her for a long moment, seemingly calm, and then says in a deep, cave-like voice, I think that's Roman. You there, Roman? Let's see. I am called Gizzy. I am a scientist and ultimately a cyborg, as you can tell. As for where we are, it appears to be a tightly packed and quite seizure-inducing elevator. Oh, sorry about that, Roman. I'll ask later at the next time Gizzy speaks. And no, I do not know how we got here. I am in the same situation as yourself. Anna just stares and then looks around at the others. The flickering lights make it difficult to determine who they are, but we can see from the lights. A sharp-eared, dark-haired cowboy who is clearly an elf, a yellow-haired girl in a Pikachu hoodie, a toned woman that looks as if she just came from one of those old cheesy sci-fi movies, specifically the gorgeous babe the hero has to rescue right down to the semi-skimpy futuristic armor, a D&D character, a gray-skinned, very human-looking half-orc with small, barely distinguishable tusks on her lower lip, bow on her back, very foresty.
Oh. This isn't.
Odd collection of characters. I realized that as well, and I have a theory.
Suddenly, the blonde sci-fi babe gasps awake and then immediately goes alert and takes out her blaster pistol, aiming it at Gizzy and Anna.
Who are you? Where am I? I will tell you this. This isn't the first time I've been captured. You are fools to keep me unrestrained and armed. Now tell me where I am.
Gizzy throws up his hands, and so does Anna.
First, Jill. Second, it is apparent from my acute observation skills, which you clearly lack, that we are in an elevator that severely needs an epilepsy warning. Third, I am called Gizzy, and your name is?
The sci-fi babe flicks her blonde hair imperviously.
Lillian Odessa del Ordilio. And don't you tell me to chill, cyborg.
She turns to Anna.
And you? You look like a civilian with your attire. What is your name, civilian, and are you hurt?
My name is Anna, I think. And no, I'm not hurt. Gizzy didn't kidnap you. He woke up here, same as me.
Odessa stares at Gizzy, who still has his hands up.
Fine, I believe her. For now.
She looks around the elevator, notices the buttons which are flickering like crazy, as if the elevator is speeding through several floors. All the buttons are blank, with vague, incomprehensible symbols on them. Odessa stares, but wisely doesn't touch. Then, with a wild gasp, both the elf cowboy and the girl in the Pikachu hoodie shoot straight up, the girl with the Pikachu hoodie sparking a little as she does so. The elf cowboy immediately draws his pistol.
Where in the goddamn blazes am I?
There is something off about his voice, as if he is using a voice changer.
Where the fuck am I? I don't remember drinking last night.
She just notices the odd assortment of characters before, specifically Gizzy and Screams jumping into a karate stance.
What the fuck? What is this? A convention?
Odessa looks at Gizzy and Anna.
Should I tell them or should you?
I will tell them.
Anna cautiously walks over to the 2 people, one of which still has his pistol out.
Okay, here's the deal. We all woke up in this elevator. We have no idea where we are, what this elevator is, or where it is taking us. We are all in the same situation as you, so try not to panic, alright?
Anna breathes, trying to stay calm herself.
First of all, what are your names?
Elf Cowboy holsters his weapon.
Gwendolyn, madam. Pleased to meet you.
Lara. Just Lara.
Anna nods.
Good. Now all we have is the bow girl, and we are all.
Just then, the half-orc wakes up, notices the situation, and immediately goes for her arrows. Who are you? This isn't my usual party. Anna walks closer.
Listen,
The sudden movement causes the crazed half-orc woman to shoot at Anna's chest. It hits her. Almost immediately, Odessa tackles the half-orc to the ground, pinning her. Gizzy rushes to Anna, who seems shocked at the arrow sticking out of her chest, but otherwise doesn't seem to be in pain. She pulls it out without a single grimace.
I can't feel pain. What?
Her eyes widen even further when her wound heals almost instantly. Gizzy is intrigued.
Interesting.
The half-orc struggles against Odessa's grip. Let go of me, you bitch!
No, you attacked a civilian. You're clearly unstable.
Let her go, Lillian. She is in the same predicament we are in.
Odessa glares at Gizzy.
If you're going to call me by my civilian name, best call me Odessa. I despise the name Lillian.
Amused. Like that.
Whatever you say, Odysseus.
By the gods. Can you fine person of female variety let go of me already? I panicked, okay?
Who's got?
I was about to say, is there a slug line a little after this, or does it just keep? Yeah. Yeah, that's all we'll do, I guess. But yeah, thank you for sharing, Pollock. And sorry about your microphone running, but it came back towards the end, it seems, so that's good. But okay. But I don't think that there was any slug line on page 6, was there? Seems like it would have been further down. So sorry I didn't really come to a good stopping point, but let's see.
There's a slug line just below.
Below page 6.
On the same page where we stopped.
Hang on, I was looking at the stream.
Sorry.
That's towards the end of page 6. We've broken the flow already.
Okay.
Anyway, the feedback we're looking for again is character feedback. Is the mystery of the world well placed and executed? But yeah. I might look through that just so I can get a better idea of what kind of feedback that is. Sorry I stopped early. But let's see. Joel, did you want to start us off with feedback?
Would you mind coming back to me, please?
Yeah, it's fine. Liska?
I really enjoy the dialogue, and I don't really have any criticism for it. I really enjoyed it. The whole thing.
Thanks, Liska. Lasagna, do you have any feedback?
Yeah, I think I do. I think the action lines were really good. And I think that I guess there's a whole lot of where are we? What's going on? And I guess I know they're all like confused and stuff, but that's kind of all that happens during these 5 pages, and it gets a little repetitive, I think. But I do think you did well, and I liked reading it. So good job. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Lasagna. Morgana, did you have any feedback?
Honestly, not really. It reminded me of that Twilight Zone episode with all those toys, their characters, and they're like in that can, and it ends up that they're toys on Chris like for a Christmas drive. Those who know what I'm talking about probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. I would kind of concur with lasagna. All it is right now is kind of like, what is happening? I think the characters are. I thought Half Orc was pretty distinct of all of them. Besides that, uh, yeah, I don't know.
Thanks, Morgana. Nacho, did you have any feedback? Right, Roman, did you have any feedback?
Yeah, I think the action lines are pretty decently well written, and I enjoy that. The characters are fairly well written. I think ultimately, like everyone's sort of said, like not a whole ton happens within this time, which it is 5 pages, but like I feel like there could be a little bit more personality in the characters a little bit maybe. But yeah, I think it is a lot of them just saying what's going on and all this. And I don't know if there could be more happening in the 5 pages. I assume there's going to be more in the script, obviously, but yeah, for these 5 pages, it does kind of samey in that way. But I do like the writing overall; it's quite good.
Thanks, Roman. Taste of Sorrow, were you here for the reading and did you have any feedback?
I was not here. I just joined.
Okay, that's fine. And Willow, I guess your mic is probably still glitching out, regrettably. But anything you have to say, I will read out loud later if you like. Joel, were you ready with your feedback yet?
I
Sure.
don't think I have anything else to add on.
Okay. Well, let's see. Really massive blocks of text going on here, especially in the first couple pages. Which I'd have to look at more and see like if there's anything you could conceivably cut out that maybe doesn't absolutely have to be there. I'm not saying it's useless information, but it is a bit wordy. Um, and I feel like we spend a lot of time standing around saying, "Who are you and what are we doing?" And then another person wakes up and says, "Who are you and what are we doing?" And we go through that a bit, and they're all hostile, and they're all like very different, cool characters, which I like. But I kind of want to see them just dumped into something, like give them something to do amidst the chaos of not knowing where they are.
Also,
Like that might.
adding on to that point of how different characters they all are, which is really good, by the way. Maybe trying to give them more different reactions because they're different species, they're presumably from different backgrounds, or maybe even in different worlds, or I don't really know about that. So give them different reactions, and more varied. I don't know. I feel like it's got more potential than what it does have at the moment.
Thanks, Joe. Willow says decent action, but I wish the injury happened earlier. That adds to the intrigue. Would have liked to try a few unsuccessful attempts to get out. Thanks, Willow. But yeah, I guess that's the whole of my feedback is sort of pick up the pace. And while I do enjoy having a moment to see who all we have, what cards we have in the deck, like I just want to go somewhere faster, I guess. But thank you so much for sharing, Paul. Like I hope some of the feedback helps. It was a fun read. Good job to our readers, arctors. But yeah. Yeah, we're gonna give out script coins at the end of the session tonight, I think. All right. But yeah, on to our next script of the night. This is a feature from Aliska. This is Yellow River. It is a drama feature. Logline is left to defend or fend for himself. A sheltered boy sets out to find his kidnapped sister before his village is destroyed destroyed by an impending flood. Feedback, nothing specific, just general. Content warning for death, drug use, dead bodies, and grief. Anything to add before we start, Aliska?
There's a few pages, well, maybe 2 or 3 pages later on in the script where I made some really strange formatting choices and articulate what my mind was seeing. So I just kind of, you'll see what I'm talking about when you come up on it. That's about it.
Okay, sounds cool. Let's see. I believe I did upload the right version, right, Joel? Color-coded one.
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
And it has 97 pages total.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're in it for the long haul.
But
But yes, the PDF is in table reads info for those of you who want to download it. Joel will also be streaming the script on the stream if you'd like to do that. What we do for features generally, since there are so many parts, Joel will color code the parts for us so that you don't have to have a list. You can just see your color and do it. So thank you, Joel. And the colors, like the names I chose for the colors. Hey, Kevin, we're getting some feedback from your mic. Could you go ahead and mute for now? Kevin, please, I beseech you. We have, colors that we're casting by. And the names I chose for the colors might be subjective. I all hope we have the same color vocabulary. but yeah, just if you think it might be you, just go ahead and yeah. But I'll read out the different colors, and if you want it, just say so and I will cast you. We have first a yellow part. Who wants the yellow characters in this script?
sure, why not?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, be aware that if you pick up a part, it will be a commitment. It might be here a while, so it's the nature of features. Anyone for green? Anyone for the green part?
I'll take it.
Thank you, Morgana. Blue. Anyone for the blue part?
I don't know. Maybe
have-
I could do blue.
That's fine.
I was about to say, would you be able to be here the entire time? If you don't have time.
Probably, yes, I would be, yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, you get blue then, Roman. Red?
I just, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if something comes up, we can always fix it, but and assign somebody else. But
No, I'll be here. I'll commit.
okay, great. Red parts. Anyone for the red parts? Red, red, red. I think I'll take a package. I want the red one. Bam. 3 more parts to go. Anyone for light green?
Sure.
Light green.
Oh, I was gonna take it.
Okay, I'll give it to Lasagna. About to say, we try to procure these so no one has to talk to themselves. That's the whole point of colors. And by goodness, we have to give it our all. Orange. Orange or peach? Anybody here a fan of orange or peach? It's closer to like golden, but I call it orange for the purposes of.
I can do it too if you need it.
I feel like I probably grouped stuff like as I saw it in the script. And so there's a good chance that a lot of the light green and orange people like interact with each other.
I'll
I
talk to
could-
myself.
I mean, I could do it if needed.
Well, yeah.
Alright, you want me to take your part though, Nacho? I mean, why do I call you Nacho? I always do this. You want me to take your part, Gray?
Nah, I have usurped him. The crowning of Paimon.
Which one? Which color was yours?
I have red. I'm just gonna give you orange lasagna, and Roman, I will give you peach. So
Hey.
Okay, am I also blue?
yeah. If you
Okay.
guys are okay with that.
I mean,
So am
I'm
I
gonna have
also
to.
light
It'll be
green?
okay.
Oh, okay. You wanted to like switch to it instead of wait.
No, I'm just asking, like, which colors am I?
You're orange and light
You're
green,
light green.
lasagna.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Roman is blue and peach. I'm red. Morgana's
Blue
green.
peach. Okay.
But yeah, ideally we would have had like 7 or at least 6 people to read the parts, and then I could have taken one. But that's all right. I trust you guys to be versatile voice actors.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll do my best. I'll try my best to be not the same voice every time.
Yep. Anyone who cringes at my bad voice acting, like whatever.
I won't
What?
cringe.
Thank you,
I can
Roman.
take red because you'll be narrating if you want.
No, it's fine. I'd rather like try to spread out as much as we can, and direction
Alright.
never has to talk to itself. I am the omnipotent ruler of this world as the narrator.
Unless it poses a theoretical question, I guess it could talk to itself.
Unless it does, yeah. If it becomes like postmodern. Nah, I shouldn't use words I don't understand.
Or the
Yes.
narrator becomes the character.
No, that's what I don't understand. I should never have said the word postmodern. But yes, here we go.
Yes.
Yellow River,
I'm
written.
gonna write a postmodern script, which is only description, just to torture you.
I refuse to talk about it. The Yellow River, written by Carmen Perez Collins. The words. Thy mother is like a vine in thy blood, planted by the waters. She was fruitful and full of branches by reason of many waters. Ezekiel chapter 19, verse 10. A yellow line snakes over a canvas, in between hills and over jagged mountains. Pulling back, the hand of a little girl artist, 7, moving across canvas, pushing a thick brush drenched in yellow. She looks past the canvas over a river the color mustard and back to canvas, where a rice paddy field has been colored in. We travel into that field and through the painting to the exterior Wanghe Valley, Qinghai, China, 1938 day. I forgot to look at the pronunciation before we started the script. We're gonna deal. Tian Yu Gao, 32, harvests rice in a downpour. A reed bends over his back, holding a bundle of rice paddies on either side, resembling scales. He drops the reed and stares up into dark, thundering clouds, holding a bamboo hat fast to his head with both hands. Lightning follows thunder.
Mother River.
Yellow river, rain patterns sprinkle over the dull yellow surface. Wind picks up little waves crashing on the shoreline and empties itself over the embankment and across the flooded rice paddy fields and dirt roads. Tian Yu runs across the rice paddy field, his bare feet striking through inches of water. He falls face down into the field. Raindrops hit the bamboo head. He clasps his palms together, squeezes his eyes shut.
May I be found blameless in your sight.
Exterior Manchu dwelling, continuous. Tian Yu's daughter, the little girl artist, pretends with a doll, making her hop from one stone to another. The doll holds a magpie in hand, and the other a miniature bouquet of pale pink cherry blossoms. She looks up toward the river. She gasps. The little girl artist runs, doll in hand, away from the river, fast approaching the Manchu dwellings. The little girl falls. A wave covers her and the doll. The waters recede, and we are left with only the disheveled doll. Exterior, Yellow River, present day. Daming Zhu, 8, a possessive and fanatical little boy, throws a line into the Yellow River. He holds his fishing pole in between his knees and prays inaudibly. Daming's father, Chang Zhu, 28, takes the fishing pole from Daming, reels in the line, and places a different kind of bait on the hook.
Now,
Chang passes the fishing pole back to Daming.
Right, Papa.
Chang unscrews the cap of a green bottle.
we wait.
He takes a drink from the bottle.
Just a little while, but first.
Daming lays the pole down. He stands up on the seat of the boat and performs a jig while Chang drinks. Chang chuckles at Daming, then sets his face like a stone. Daming picks up an oar, pretends it's a guitar, and sings.
Boy, you're gonna scare the fish.
Daming balances the oar in his hand. The boat tips from side to side.
We won't get back easy with just one oar.
Daming tosses the oar from hand to hand.
No hands, Baba.
He fumbles the oar and drops it into the river.
What'd I tell you, boy?
Daming gasps and reaches for the oar. Too late. The oar hits the surface of the water outside of arm's reach and floating further away. Chang glares at Daming. Daming looks at Chang with a hint of fear. Exterior house, same. The turned-up eaves of the edges of a single-story pagoda cuts into the downstream flow of the Yellow River from this point of view. Yan Wang, 27, the centered and anxious mother of Daming. She wears a long white dress and hangs a garment, the color deep red, over a stretched-out line attached to the trunk of a cherry blossom tree. Yan turns for the river. The line of her thin frame enhances a late-term pregnancy through the dress. The material of the dress dances with the cherry blossom tree. A thick strand of shiny black hair blows against her cheek and lips, stained with the deep red of the garment. Pink flowers scatter off branches of the cherry tree blossom tree, traveling sideways across the earth. She follows them with her eyes, smiles, and looks to the Yellow River, searching it with her eyes. Yan drops a hand to her lower belly, doubles over. She holds two hands against her lower stomach. The river, an aerial view of Chang standing on the small fishing boat on the river, and Daming reaching for the oar, and just a few feet from the edge of the boat, a merging of the Yellow River in a body of blue, clean, unadulterated water. The oar floats into the clear water, where the current is stronger than the current of the Yellow River.
Where the yellow meets the blue.
You have to jump in to go get the oar boy.
Chang throws him a life vest. Daming complies and puts it on. Chang chucks an empty green bottle into the clean riverside. Daming does a little bow, acknowledging the gods somewhere in the sky, and dives in. He retrieves the oar and holds it up in a gesture of victory. The sun dips.
Your mother will be worried.
Daming nods. He climbs into the boat, crosses his arms over his chest. He shakes, balls up, and clatters his teeth. Yan, at the clothesline, sees Daming approaching. He runs into Yan's arms. Yan smiles, embracing her son. Daming places his cheek on her belly and closes his eyes. Daming looks up at Yan. I'll be Roman.
We saw the two rivers coming together.
I was getting worried. Daming places two hands on her belly and speaks, not to his mother, but to the yet-to-be-born child.
You will never have to worry again.
Daming looks up at Yan. She looks down at her son. Her head tilts to one side. Her brow furrows into a deep line above her nose. Interior house, night. Daming does a little bow before a miniature Buddha. He places a little bouquet of cherry blossoms at the feet of Buddha and performs the jig. The same dance as before. Chang and Yan sit on a sofa. Can't speak English. Chang sees his son dancing and takes the head of Yan, lifting her off the couch, which is a bit of a struggle for her. He spins her around, out and in. The three dance and spin together in the living room. This is one happy family. Later, Yan and Chang lay down next to each other, eyes closed. Chang opens his eyes to behold the beauty of his wife in the quiet. She opens her eyes to his. They stare at each other in the dark. We see the whites of their eyes in the dark. He touches her arm, caressing her. They lock into each other for what seems forever. He touches her stomach, and the two close their eyes. We linger with them in the dark for a moment. Exterior river, day. Daming and Chang on the boat. Chang baits a line, hands it to Daming.
Don't scare the fish away today.
The fish are on the clean side, maybe.
Daming does a one-shoulder shrug.
The current there is too strong for this rickety boat.
Chang kicks the side of the boat. A little time passes in silence, save for Chang swallowing the contents of the green bottle and casting it as far as he can away from the boat into the river. The line is being pulled from the river. Daming springs up.
Baba!
The line pulls, bending the fishing pole even more.
Big one, maybe.
He takes the fishing pole from Daming's hands. The line snaps. He reels in what's left of the line and instructs Daming on how to fix it. Daming pulls the line out, attaches another bait, and hurls the line in again. A little time passes. The line pulls again. Chang flicks the green bottle.
Baba,
He reels the line in, leaning back on resistance. The line bends the pole. A sudden release, and a beige, hairy figure emerges, wrecked by years of water damage. Daming leans over the side of the boat to retrieve the object.
What is it?
Daming holds up the wrecked object with one arm turned up.
a doll.
Give me that thing.
Daming pulls the doll away.
I'm keeping this, Baba.
We can't eat a doll.
It looks like she was holding something.
Chang picks up the pole and baits it again. He hurls the line in. Daming stares at the doll, making her dance while singing. Interior house, later. Daming uses a paintbrush to draw a new set of eyebrows on the doll. He places a bird in its hand. Yan makes a little dress with a sewing machine. Daming combs the doll's hair and sets her on a stand. The two stare at the doll sitting on the kitchen counter next to the Buddha.
Bujan?
Yan smiles. Is that her new name?
Baby Bujan.
Daming wraps his arms around Yan's belly. Yan looks at the doll, places one hand over her chest, and takes a deep breath in and out. Exterior marketplace, day. Daming and Yan go to the marketplace, where fish are held in boxes, some laying one way, others laying another. Kind of like big sardines. Fruit and vegetable stands. A little pair of black plastic shoes sit among each other. Miniature doll accessories. Among other miniature doll accessories. Hair, arms, legs, eyes, and clear plastic bags. Yan pays for a pair of shoes and goes to the fruit stand. Daming stays behind, staring at a leashed cat sitting under the chair of Tianyu. Tianyu, now 78 and blind. Yan elbows Daming. It's not polite to stare.
He can't see me, Ma.
Just go, oh, there we go. Daming stands in front of Tianyu performing dances. Daming. Daming dances away. Yan holds her stomach. She bends over in anguish.
Ma?
Daming helps Yan walk. Interior house, night. Yan sits up in bed, screaming. She throws off the sheets and holds her stomach. Cheng jumps out of the bed and goes to Yan's side. He robes her and carries her to the front door. Daming runs out of his room.
What's happening, Baba?
We're going to the hospital. Get dressed.
Is Ma okay?
Hold the door.
Cheng buckles Yan into the front seat. Daming gets in the back.
What's happening, Baba?
Cheng drives down a dirt road. He turns left at the sign, pointing to a hospital. Interior hospital, moments later. Daming and Cheng watch Yan being wheeled down a hallway. Daming sits down in the waiting room, while Cheng paces around, once in a while approaching the counter to address the night clerk, 38. Cheng takes his seat next to Daming, who sits there staring at a baby commercial.
It's going to be all right.
He tussles Daming's hair. Hospital room. Yan lays on the hospital bed with her eyes shut. Dr. Wu, 46, walks in the room, clipboard in hand. He wears a medical mask and a pair of gloves. Quiet nurse, 28, tags who did I give? I think that's Joe.
This is fun.
Then Peach.
Mrs. Young.
There we go. The nurse nudges Yan's shoulder. She turns to the doctor, who signals for her to follow him out. Yan opens her eyes. She watches Dr. Wu, and the nurse leaves the room. She places two hands on her stomach. Waiting room. Daming hits the buttons on the flat screen fixed to the wall. Chang walks up to the registration counter. The registrar, 25, clickety clacks away on the keyboard. Dr. Wu and the quiet nurse enter the waiting room.
So, Mr. Zhu.
That's Morgana. Oh, wait. Morgana. Come back.
How is she?
Dr. Wu peers over at Daming.
Your son?
Our son, yes.
Dr. Wu and the reserved nurse exchange serious looks. The nurse pulls a pamphlet from the clipboard and hands it to Chang. Chang ignores it.
Is my wife okay?
The nurse points to the legislative information posted to the wall behind Chang. One child-only policy.
Aside from the clear legislative constraints, having a second child is not in the best interest of your wife's health needs.
The nurse peers over at Dai Ming, now asleep on the plastic chair, head dropped to one side. He peeks out at Chang and Dr. Wu from under the half-closed lids.
Children after the first are not able to obtain medical or educational benefits.
I'm aware of the law, Doctor.
We can arrange for another solution besides termination.
What do you mean termination?
This is what the government requires and is the normal solution.
Are you talking about aborting my child?
You can face heavy fines by keeping the child, Mr. Zhu. He would not be recognized by any society within the borders of China. Now, if you want this child to live, we can make arrangements.
What will happen to my child?
There is an organization adopting children to foreigners, more notably Americans who...
Americans.
You should know also that if you and Mrs. Wong insist on carrying the child, there is a risk involved.
What kind of risk?
Chang zeroes in on the doctor.
Amniotic fluid has entered your wife's bloodstream.
Dr. Wu looks toward Dai Ming's location on the waiting room plastic chair. Dai Ming is gone. Dr. Wu looks around.
Where is your son?
Chang looks toward the location of Dai Ming on the plastic chair and does a double take.
He was just there.
Chang marches past the registration desk, through the automatic doors, which don't open fast enough for him. He steps out into the loading zone, looking right to left. Hallway/hospital room. Dai Ming runs through the hallway, briefly stopping at the nurse's station to perform his signature dance. Nobody seems to notice him. He dips into rooms, from one to the next, checking for Yan in the beds. He pulls back curtains, rolls service trays around, wreaking havoc along the way. The elderly and infirm, various ages, gasp and stare. He opens the door to see Yan, who breaks into a smile. He runs to embrace his mother.
What's happening, Ma?
You're not supposed to be back here. The doorknob jiggles. Hide. Yan motions with her eyes toward the curtain, separating her from the next bed over. Dai Ming throws the curtain open, ignoring the patient, 90, laying in the bed. He stands behind the curtain, his arms straight down at his sides. Dr. Wu and the nurse walk in. Have you seen your son?
We have strict policies, I'm sorry to say.
Yan shifts her eyes in the direction of Dai Ming behind the curtain. Dai Ming stays still, turns his head to see the patient lying in the bed. Two catatonic cataracts stare up at him. He gasps, bringing his hand up to his mouth. Dr. Wu and the nurse walk towards the curtain. The nurse pulls it open. Dai Ming runs towards the door and bam! Runs right into Chang as he's walking in.
Your son is breaking hospital policy.
Yan.
Chang ignores Dr. Wu and goes to Yan, embracing her.
I'm sorry, Mr. Liu. You must go. Your wife will be released today.
Chang pulls away from Yan. The two hold hands with outstretched arms. Chang clutches Dai Ming by the back of the neck and pushes him down the hallway.
Always into something.
Baba.
Yan rolls herself off the bed, leveraging herself off the metal bars. The nurse walks into the room. Dr. Wu has spoken with your husband. Yan nods and furrows her eyebrows at the nurse as she struggles to stand.
Let me help
Let me help you. There you go. Can you take the non-coded ones, Joel?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The nurse helps Yan to stand. Interior, exterior, home, night. A white van with blue lettering and a red cross parks at Dai Ming's house. Lucy, 32, an uncommon innocence about her for a grown woman with a slight hint of wild, emerges from the van holding a medical bag. Her phone rings. She pulls it out of her front pocket.
I'm at the house now.
She pulls on the strands of her hair, framing her face.
I understand.
She places the phone in her pocket, lifts her chest, and smooths out the front of her uniform. She applies lipstick in the side mirror, rubs her lips together, smiles at her reflection. Interior house continuous. Jan lays on the bed screaming. Fang hangs out at the door with his hand on his head, pacing from the bedroom door and into the living room. Daiming hangs out in front of the little Buddha in the living room, hands together, eyes shut, repeating unintelligible words. Outside, Lucy knocks on the door. Inside, disturbing Daiming's focused prayers.
Baba,
Daiming opens the door just a few inches and peers out at Jan.
who are you?
Lucy fake smiles.
I am here to help your mom. I am a midwife.
A beat or two, and Lucy breaks eye contact with Daiming. She looks off to the side, then back at him with a fake smile. Daiming slams the door on Lucy's face.
I'm from the hospital.
Daiming opens the door, allowing Lucy to enter. Jan screams on the bed. Lucy enters the room, opens the bag, puts on a disposable apron, mask, gloves. He approaches Jan and places a hand on her shoulder.
You okay, Mom?
Lucy places one of Jan's hands on her chest, one on her lower belly.
Keep your hands there.
She positions herself at the end of the bed. Fang paces in the hallway. Daiming hangs out at the bedroom door, unable to take his eyes off what's unfolding.
Breathe in through your nose and slowly out of your mouth.
Lucy smiles at her. Jan stares at her with eyes propped wide open. He tries to smile back. Jan screams, pushes, takes quick breaths. Typical birthing scene unfolds with any combination of the above actions. Jan's head, beaded with sweat, falls back into the pillow. Wujan, newborn, comes out, somehow knowing she's entered into a cruel dimension outside of her womb comforts.
There.
Lucy smiles, cleans baby washcloth, wraps her up, smiles at her. This is no fake smile. Lucy looks around the room and spots Daiming at the door. She signals Daiming to enter the room. Daiming takes baby steps, terrified. He looks at Jan, whose head has fallen back into the pillow. She lays there, still.
Hold baby.
Daiming holds Wujan like she's an alien creature. Wujan smiles at Daiming, one of those controversial newborn baby smiles. He rocks Wujan from side to side. He sings and makes faces at Wujan. Lucy caresses Jan's arm. He smiles. This, too, is no fake smile. This time, genuine.
You did it, Mom.
She nudges Jan's shoulder. Chang, previously MIA, peeks in from the hallway at Wujan, then at Jan. Lucy appears in the hallway, dialing on her cell phone. Chang stands by.
Your wife needs immediate care.
Why? What's happening?
He peers over at Jan, who is still, very still. Reluctant to approach Jan, he does so, and tries to awaken her. He feels for a pulse.
God.
His face turns from concern and urgency to the realization of what's happened. Little by little, his head falls towards Jan, until he's buried his face in her chest. Chang sobs, a full-on sob, shoulders heaving up and down, that kind of sobbing. Daiming stands by with Wujan in his arms.
What's happening, Baba?
Wujan
Oh, sorry.
cries.
What's happening, Baba?
There you are. Wujan cries. Lucy comes into the room. She looks at Daiming and goes for Wujan.
I need take baby.
Daiming pulls Wujan away. Lucy looks from the side, then smiles at Daiming. The fake smile again.
Her name is Wujan.
Daiming rocks, staring at Wujan.
Wujan?
I go. Take her to doctor. Make sure she's okay.
Daiming stares at Lucy, then hands Wujan over to her arms.
An ambulance is on the way.
Lucy zips through the house, the medical bag in one hand, Wujan in the other. Daiming follows her out. Chang's face remains in Jan's chest. Lucy opens the sliding door of the van, taking great care to place Wujan into a car seat. She takes out her cell and dials.
I have Wujan. Who's Wujan? The baby. What you think?
She smiles at Wujan, back to the real smile.
The family is waiting.
Lucy ends call, slides door of van shut. She turns around, coming face to face with Daiming. I'll be Roman.
Me, my baby.
He squints his eyes hard at Lucy, fists balled up.
I told you, I'm just making sure Wujan is okay.
Fake smile. This time, though, it's accompanied by agitation. Daming lunges toward the door of the van. He yanks on the handle repeatedly. Lucy blocks the door. Daming pushes Lucy out of the way. Lucy responds with a one-arm smackdown. She's done this before. Daming falls to the ground. He stares up at Lucy in disbelief.
I'm sorry.
Lucy appears shaken. She bolts to the driver's side of the van, taking one last look at Daming, and gets into the driver's seat. She looks in the rearview mirror, where Daming sprints after the van as she drives away. Lucy's eyes fill with tears. One rolls down her cheek. She wipes it away and gathers her strength again. Daming stops dead in his tracks. Woman, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Wujan.
The van disappears into the night. Daming drops his head. He drops to his knees.
Wujan.
He looks up to the heavens. A sudden calm comes over him, and he wipes his tears.
I will find you, Wujan.
Daming gathers enough strength to pull himself up, still looking on toward the direction the van went. Interior house, day. Chang soaks up blood, absorbing it into a giant sponge, and squeezes it out into a bucket. The bucket water turns bright red. I should know that. Chang pours the bloody water into... What was it? Close up. Chang pours the bloody water into the toilet and flushes. Chang lays on the mattress where Yan last breathed. He closes his eyes and travels to exterior. Cherry blossoms taken by wind travel horizontally over the earth, over the river, and close up. Yan smiled wearing cherry blossoms in her hair. Back to present. Close up, Chang, a tear escaping out of his eye. Interior house, day. Chang opens a cabinet to a single item, a can of snow peas. He opens a drawer, rummages through utensils and plastic measuring cups. He slams the drawer shut.
Daming!
Damien comes out of the room, taking baby steps. He drags a blanket on the floor and allows the blanket to fall, joining other items strewn about. He stares at Chang with a flat effect.
Where's the can opener?
Damien takes small steps towards the kitchen, opens another drawer containing the can opener, and hands it to Chang. Chang opens the can, scoops out some peas on one plate, scoops out the rest on another plate. He puts the 2 plates on the small table. Chang nods at Daming, and the two sit down at the small table. Chang chews on the peas with disdain and stares at the empty chair.
I have to go back to work.
Daming rolls a pea around on the plate. He stares at the empty chair next to him. Exterior, Yellow River, day. Daming sits in the boat next to a net half full of fish. Chang drinks from the green bottle and watches the line.
There's more fish today.
The water is higher.
Chang points to the shoreline.
Sometimes it gives, sometimes it takes.
Daming looks at Chang.
That lady took Wujan.
Daming's eyes appear empty. Chang drops his head, determined to be hopeless.
There's things you can't understand right now.
Tell me, Baba. I'm not a child.
You are a child.
I will prove to you, Baba.
Daming takes off his shirt.
What are you doing?
Daming dives into the Yellow River.
Daming!
Chang picks up a life vest, readies himself to toss it out to Daming. Daming swims towards the shoreline. Daming gives in to the current, letting his body float downstream. He swims harder and turns over on his back. He takes several deep breaths. He turns back over and goes underwater. Daming stays under for much too long. Chang throws down the life vest, picks up one his size, and takes off his shirt. Daming emerges close to the shoreline. He walks out to the shore and pumps his arm, yelling.
Told you, Baba. I told you.
Daming paces along the shore, pumping his arms and breaking out into dances. He utters things we cannot hear. Daming dances and rages alternatively. Chang stares at him in disbelief and chucks the life vest on the floor of the boat. We go to a grill of reeds along the river where a dead body bobs in the current. Close up on Cataract Eyes and Day Ming in the background, still raging and dancing alternatively and uttering things we cannot hear. Chang brings in the line and rows towards Day Ming's location on the shore.
Baba.
Chang rows towards the reeds. Day Ming stands on the shore, gazing into Cataract Eyes. He hugs himself and allows his teeth to clatter. Chang throws a towel upon reaching the shore. Day Ming throws it over his shoulders and hides his face, except his eyes.
His eyes are white.
Chang looks around at the abandoned shoreline. He stares into the Cataract Eyes.
Where'd he come from?
He looks upstream as if he's expecting another body. The wind blows the reeds, moving the body around a bit.
I'm gonna need your help. Get his feet.
Day Ming jumps away from the floating corpse.
I'm not going near that, Baba. No, thank you.
Chang looks upstream and downstream.
Now, son, if ever there was a chance to prove you're all grown up, this is it.
What I meant was...
Take his feet.
Chang throws the end of a rope at Day Ming. Day Ming turns his head in disgust.
Remember the knot I showed you.
Day Ming nods his head with fast, nervous beats. He reaches for the rope without looking at it, the cadaver, or Chang. Day Ming's eyes focus on the reeds. He picks up the rope, looks at the body. The eyes of the corpse appear to blink. Day Ming falls back, and Spider crawls away from the body, face up on hands and feet crawling.
He blinked.
Give me the rope.
Day Ming throws the rope to Chang and sits under a tree crying, head buried in knees. Chang lifts the body into a boat, covers the swollen cadaver's head with a towel.
Been here about 2 days. Get in.
Day Ming gets into the boat without looking at the body. He sits as far away from the body as possible.
There's a cove on the other side of these reeds.
Chang points in the direction of a hole in the earth covered with boulders. He takes both oars and rows towards the cove. Exterior marketplace, day. Day Ming and Chang exchange fish for produce, where Tian Yu sits in a chair over a caged cat. The cat has a collar and leash attached to it.
Hey, mister, why do you have your cat on a leash?
Tian Yu signals skedaddle with a quick wave of his arm. He stares straight on through the white film over his eyes. Chang elbows Day Ming.
You'll have to excuse my...
The river will rise again
The yellow one?
when the two rivers become one.
Day Ming and Chang exchange glances and move on to a window where Li Jiang, 22, stands frozen in time. Chang and Day Ming stare at her.
She looks real.
Li moves into another pose. Day Ming gasps.
She is real.
Li moves into another pose. This time she brings up a long cigarette and pretends to be smoking.
Kinda creepy.
Day Ming goes over to a gumball machine. He runs back and asks Chang for small change. Chang digs in his pocket and gives him some. Day Ming runs back over to the gumball machine. Besides gumballs, there are little plastic dolls inside of those little round plastic containers. Chang waves his hand in front of Li. He switches positions every few seconds and pretends not to see Chang's hand. Shoppers pass by and stare at her with flat affection. She turns around, facing Chang with one hand on a hip.
I am trying to work.
Li over-articulates every word she speaks.
Do they hire men here?
You model?
Li looks off in the direction of Day Ming. Day Ming turns the gumball handle over and over. Chang looks into the mirror hanging behind Li. He tussles his hair.
That your son?
My wife used to say I look like a model.
Li steps off the window platform and stares into Chang's eyes.
I bet I can tell your fortune.
Is that part of the job?
Is that part of the job? No. Actually, no, silly bear.
Li goes from mocking to maternal in a hot second.
Let me see your elbow.
I thought it was hands, or a ball, or a card.
That's old way, Papa Bear.
Chang shows his elbow to Li. Day Ming's in the background struggling with the gumball machine, shaking it wildly. Chang turns to look, then turns back to Li. Boys will be boys.
I hope it's a better future than my present.
What can be so bad with such handsome boy at your side.
Lee smiles over at Dame Ming. Dame Ming ignores her and continues wrestling with the machine. Lee turns to Chang and reads his elbow. Lee's smile turns into a frown. She places one hand over her chest.
You have looked in face of death.
Chang's eyebrows go up. His head tilts in for more.
Haven't we all?
Lee's brow furrows. Her forehead creases.
That's all. Have to work.
Lee writes something on a piece of paper and places it in Chang's shirt pocket. Chang pulls it out and unfolds it to reveal a phone number. He places the note back into his pocket. Lee takes her place back on the platform. Nacho is back. And yeah, we were saying, Nacho, this script is 97 pages, so it would be like a long commitment if you have the time. But if you do have the time,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, you could take Peach because Lee and Dame Ming actually end up talking to each other a lot, so that would be pretty inconvenient.
Okay.
So sweet. That just
also,
means
because of course, if I can ask people to turn off Discord notifications, I'm not sure who it is, but we can hear messages coming in or something.
let me see if it's me. I have some weird custom settings for desktop notifications. Where did it go?
Putting your thing on Do Not Disturb should do whatever it's called.
Oh, I just turned it off.
Cool.
Same effect. I'll deal with it later. But she commences on posing while Chang stares at her with a childlike curiosity. So much so that he resembles Dame Ming, like at this moment. Dame Ming kicks the gumball machine twice. Chang walks up behind Dame Ming, looking back twice at Lee.
The machine took the money.
Dame Ming smacks the machine and walks away. Chang smacks the machine a couple of times, and a little doll encased in a plastic container drops from the opening. Dame Ming stands in front of a sign several feet away from the machine. The sign reads, Rewards for Missing. Please call 13910998898. Chang walks up behind Dame Ming. He stares at the sign. Chang nudges Dame Ming away from the sign and out into the main street. Chang gives Dame Ming the little plastic doll. Dame Ming looks hard at the little toy doll.
Maybe they know where Wujian is.
Chang picks up his pace, forcing Dame Ming to keep up. Interior house, night. Dame Ming fills a backpack with fruit and a plastic training knife. He puts on a hat and pulls it down tight over his forehead, obscuring his eyes. He finds a pen and notepad in the kitchen drawer and writes a note to Chang. Dear Baba, went to find Wujian. No worry. Love, Dame Ming. Dame Ming walks out of the house, down the dirt road, and out onto the main street. He comes across the sign. Hospital, with the arrow pointing right. Wind-blown trees cast an orchestra of shadows on the street. Exterior house, continuous. A window shutter hits a window frame over and over again. Interior house, continuous. Chang sleeps on the bed. He stirs to the disruptive sounds of the window shutter. Dame Ming picks up his I swear, I'm good at talking. Dame Ming picks up his pace. A set of headlights approach. A white van with blue lettering. Dame Ming runs into the tree line, hides. He waits for the van to pass. Chang opens the fridge to green bottle. He takes the bottle out, looks at it hard, puts it back on the shelf. Dame Ming sprints down the middle of the road. Chang stands on the chair, reaches into the cabinet above the fridge, pulls down a bottle of baijiu, close up on 35% alcohol. He smiles and pops the lid off the red bottle. Dame Ming gasps for breath, walks towards the hospital lights lifted above the Yellow River Valley at its highest point. He arrives at a row of white vans in the parking lot. The van travels through the rows and comes to a stop. Dame Ming hides behind a bush. He watches through leaves. Chang unfolds the paper Lee put into his pocket at the door. Yet he dials the number. Dame Ming, point of view male nurse 28, leaves the van and enters hospital side door. It's okay, Joe. I still got some in me. Dame Ming looks into the van, cupping his hands at the side of his face. He goes through the next one, and the next one, and the next one, an empty car seat in each one. Dame Ming sighs and sits on the curb. He takes an apple out of his backpack, pulling out the little clear container with a plastic doll, which he drops. The container rolls under one of the many vans. He stares at the plastic container rolling away, and eats the apple down to its core. He throws the apple core down and kneels on all fours, reaching for the plastic container. A set of feet and a nurse's uniform approach the van. Damien goes under the van and lays flat and still. Lucy hits the unlock button on a key fob. He kicks the apple core.
Of course I have the address. What do you think?
Just make sure that's all. Lucy opens the van's driver's side door and rummages around, but does not find the address.
I told you. I have address right here.
She shuts the door and goes back to the side door of the building, leaving the door unlocked. Damien snatches up the little plastic doll and sneaks into the van. He ducks down in the back of the van and watches the back door of the building. Lucy emerges with a piece of paper in hand.
You are really getting to know me, boss.
That's your job. Just remember that.
She looks at the van, looks around, looks at the van, looks around.
Lucy,
Yes, boss.
let me know when you get there.
You got it, boss.
Lucy ends the call. She looks around the parking lot one last time and gets into the driver's side. She turns on the radio and sings along. Damien pulls his cap down. He takes the plastic knife out of the backpack, says a quick prayer with hands together, and creeps up behind Lucy. He shoves the knife into her back. Lucy gasps. She looks into the rearview mirror and sees the eyes of Damien looking back at her. Damien squints, purses his lips together, and pushes the knife harder into her back. The van swerves. We see it zigzag from left to right and back again from the outside. I'll be Roman.
I have a knife.
You, the kid.
I said I have a knife, and I am dangerous. Very dangerous.
What do you want?
Take me to Wuhan.
I don't know where she's at.
Took my baby. Now take me to Wuhan.
Oh. I'm hearing something. Sorry. Okay, kid.
Sorry.
Oh.
Okay. They stare at each other in the rearview mirror.
I have to, go the other way.
Do it. Do it fast. I am dangerous. Very dangerous.
Lucy pulls off the freeway and drives through a neighborhood. He looks at Damien, whose eyes have relaxed into what we can only describe as vulnerability. He looks at her in the rearview mirror and squints and purses his lips again. Lucy comes up in the police station.
Police station?
Lucy jumps out of the driver's seat, opens the sliding door. She stands there with one hand on her hip and a tilted, sympathetic look on her face.
Betrayal.
I know what a plastic knife feels like. What do you think?
Damien bolts through the door past Lucy and runs into the night. His hat flies off his head and lands on the street. He turns around and picks it up. Lucy is on her cell. Their eyes lock into each other for one intense moment. This isn't over by a long shot. Damien disappears into the trees. Interior house, day. The bottle of baijiu on the nightstand. Chang asleep on the bed next to a nightstand with an application to join the People's Liberation Army. Lee sits on the edge of the bed, staring at Chang. She wears panties and a bra and heavy makeup. Her figure is lean and graceful. Her hair is pulled into a loose bun. Strands of hair spill out of this bun. He goes to the closet and opens it, where a woman's robe hangs on the inside of the door. He puts on the robe and poses it in front of the mirror. She stares at herself and lets her hair down. Bathroom. Lee stares at herself in the medicine cabinet mirror. She removes all traces of makeup from her face. We can see now that she is beautiful. Closet. Lee looks through Jan's clothes. These are the garments of a deceased woman. So at first, she proceeds with caution, looking to see if Chang is awake. She pulls modest dresses off the rod and relaxes into the idea of looking through a dead woman's closet. He grimaces at these dresses, not her style. She finds one she likes and drapes it over herself in front of the mirror. He puts on the modest dress. He pins her hair up again, looks at herself with approval in the mirror. Living area. Lee cleans up around the house. He stares at a picture of the three together, Daming, Chang, and Yan. He picks up the photo and looks closer at it. Yang was pregnant for this photo. He places the photo back on the counter and contemplates. Kitchen. She looks in the fridge, which only has a few bottles of the green alcohol. Lee performs cleaning tasks, dusting around the photos first, making sure to place them in the order she found them. She collects every green bottle off the floor and tosses them into a recycling bin. Bedroom. The sun blasts through the window on Chang's face. Lee nudges Chang's shoulder.
I'll go get breakfast.
Chang nods in his sleep. Lee takes Chang's keys off the nightstand. He drives down the dirt path and onto the main street just as a police car turns onto the dirt road. Lee passes the grocery store, drives through the town, and turns into an upscale neighborhood. Lee knocks on the door of a fancy house.
It's me.
She looks into the camera, fixed to the corner, and makes silly faces until Mike Rowling, 36, edgy but lighthearted in the end, don't mess with his money and you'll get along fine, throws open the door.
Hello, baby bear.
I told you not to call me anything that ends in bear. He looks Lee up and down. I almost didn't recognize you without all the makeup. You look like a doctor's wife or something. She gives a little bow.
It's a habit, mi amor.
You speak Spanish now? Mike blocks the doorway.
You gonna invite me in?
He contemplates.
I'm not sure that I should.
Thank you. Mike's eyes shift from side to side.
Come on, Key.
Lee rolls her eyes and pushes past Mike.
I guess I don't have a choice.
Mike's eyes dart side to side again, then he shuts the door and locks it. Lee plops into a velvet sofa.
Make yourself at home, I guess.
She places her feet on the coffee table.
I think I've discovered something special, Mike.
Lee throws her head back and beams with joy.
Oh no, not again.
She snaps her head back up.
What?
You said that a trillion times before.
No, really, Mikey.
Mike goes into the kitchen. He opens the refrigerator and retrieves a water bottle and a spoon from the kitchen drawer. He feels for something in the pocket of his robe.
Well?
Mike sits next to Lee and pulls out a syringe and a baggie, which he places on the table.
Dime or 20?
40.
Mike's eyes enlarge. Lee giggles.
Just kidding. The usual. Speedball it.
Lee tightens a band around her arm and exposes the inside of her arm. Mike pushes the needle into Lee's arm.
I told him I would get
Her head falls back to rest on the couch.
breakfast.
Who's him? Lee?
He holds his hand under her nose and feels for her pulse. Interior house, day. Chang wakes up to loud knocking. He opens the door a crack to Daming and two officers of the law. One of them is diplomatic, the other is a brass tacks hard ass.
Hey, Ming, what are you doing out here?
He opens the door enough for all three to walk in.
Baba, I was just looking for what? Wujan.
Chang stares at Daming and then at the two officers.
May we have a word with you concerning your son?
Chang folds his arms over his chest and focuses his eyes.
What is this about?
Your son was caught trying to hijack a woman during a performance of her work duty, Mr. Duke.
It's not true, Baba.
Chang holds an index finger to his lips and glares at Daming.
There must be some kind of mistake.
Yes, there's a mistake. They took Wujan.
Daming nods his head over and over.
Hey, Ming, go to your room.
Baba!
Chang gives him the look.
Now.
Had his training now, and apparently he used it.
Brass Tacks hands the knife to Chang, now in a plastic evidence bag secured with a rubber band.
Keeps talking about someone named Wujan.
Who's the woman?
The woman is a transportation worker just doing her job, Mr. Chu.
You need to get a hold of your son before he ends up in the penitentiary for boys. I really would hate to see that happen. These kind of things tend to escalate.
I'll get right on it, officer.
Chang opens the door.
Mr. Chu, you might want to consider moving from here.
Diplomatic looks off toward the Yellow River.
They say the river is due to rise again. It's expected to take out all these houses, being that they're so close to falling below sea level.
Chang looks out over the Yellow River. It's clear that it's higher than the last time he looked at it.
Some kind of cyclical event. Happens every 40 years or so.
The officers walk towards the official vehicle.
I appreciate the information, officers.
Chang walks out a ways to see the shoreline has been eroded somewhat where the boat is tied to the pier. He turns and waves to the officers and sees that the boat is now about 10 feet closer to the house than its normal position on the shoreline. Chang picks up a handful of dirt and lets the grains of sand fall through his fingers. Exterior dirt road continues. Lee swerves on the main road. She hits a trash bin and keeps on going. We follow the officers out of the neighborhood, and Lee, driving Chang's car back in. The front bumper hangs down now, scraping the road. Lee pulls over to the side of the road. She watches the law enforcement vehicle leave the track of homes in the rearview mirror. Lee scratches her arm. She closes her eyes and lets her head fall forward. We stay with her, here in the dark, lingering. Then, she snaps out of her knot-out, bursts through the door, scrambles to the side of the road, and vomits. Interior-exterior house, moments later. Daming stares at the restored doll. He plops on the bed face down and sobs. Chang looks down the dirt road leading to the main road. He enters the house and tries to open Daming's bedroom door. Daming remains face down into a pillow.
Daming, let me in.
I don't want to talk about that.
Chang's shoulder pushes the door open.
We need to talk.
Chang folds his arms over his chest and paces the room.
I need your help on the river.
Daming snaps up into sitting position and wipes his face.
For what?
They're taking bodies for money in the town.
Knock on the door.
We'll continue this conversation.
Who's that?
Living room. Lee walks in wearing sunglasses, a big smile, and a grocery bag in one arm. Daming and Chang stare at her in silence.
I am sorry, Papa Bear.
Who are you?
About what? Where'd you go?
Told you I was going to the store.
Is that my wife's dress?
Mannequin, baby. Lady.
Lee sways her hips from side to side, modeling the dress.
I didn't think you'd mind, Papa Bear.
Mannequin lady.
Daming.
Lee's smile turns to a frown. Chang glares at Daming. Lee goes into the kitchen and rummages around in the cabinets. She pulls out a pan and takes breakfast items out of the bag. She's quite the functioning addict.
I said, why are you here?
Chang goes outside to see his front fender hanging down. Kitchen.
Would you like to help me make breakfast, Baby Bear?
Don't call me baby. And don't call me bear.
Lee removes her sunglasses, stoops down to Daming's level.
How about we make a deal?
Daming backs away from Lee.
You don't call me Mannequin Lady, and I don't call you Baby Bear.
Daming runs into his room, slamming the door. Chang walks in the front door.
What happened to my bumper?
I had a little accident.
She mixes flour and sugar into a mixing bowl.
We both know you need help around.
She adds the yeast and the salt. Chang stares at Lee. Somewhere in those mannequin eyes, he agrees with her. Exterior river, later. Lee relaxes on the boat with a big hat on her head. She smiles and lets the sun hit her porcelain skin. Daming stares at her from the other side of the boat with a red bandana tied around his head and the fake training knife in one hand.
Is the mannequin woman staying with us?
Chang's attention is caught by a floating corpse.
There's one.
Chang points. Lee comes out of her dream state. One what?
One of the dead.
Sorry, they were preoccupied. Damien glares at Lee, whose bliss turns into a grimace. The boat glides across the water towards the floating corpse. Chang grabs the oars and starts toward the body. Lee looks around and toward the body. She realizes now they're headed straight for a floating corpse.
Oh no.
Lee holds on to her hat.
No, 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 no.
What's the matter? Afraid of a dead guy?
She covers her face and shakes her head.
Look, Baba, the mannequin is afraid.
Ming laughs. Lee looks up. She exchanges fear for vengeance. Lee makes her way to the other side of the boat, being careful as she goes. She crawls her way to Ming's side.
I need you two to get along.
I told you not to call me mannequin.
Sit down, Lee. Ming, if you don't respect Lee, I'm gonna throw you in the river.
Fang glares at Ming and speaks through clenched teeth. The boat heaves from side to side. Lee bounces using her arms. Ming rocks the boat. Lee shrieks. Ming rocks the boat harder. Lee falls into the river. Ming gasps, his eyes widen. He throws his head back, laughing.
Ming!
Ming sees that Lee cannot swim. Ming's mirth turns to fear. Lee flails her arms, gurgles, and swallows water. The body floats closer to her. She goes under.
She's drowning, Baba.
Ming jumps in, next to the body, near the spot where Lee went down. He swims down. Ming feels around for Lee. Everything is yellow. Ming goes out of view. We linger here in the mineralized yellow river. Particulate matter floats and twirls around. Everything, everything, everything is yellow. Then, Ming comes back into view, and face to face with Lee's, her eyes white, full of fear and death. He pulls her up to the surface. Chang reaches down a hand and pulls the two of them in. Chang performs CPR on Lee while Ming prays. Lee's hat floats away. Interior house later. Chang reads the People's Liberation Army paperwork. He places the stack on the nightstand and swigs a bottle of baijiu. Chang lays down in a fetal position. He stares at Lee and sees Yan. Bedroom. Ming places the training knife flat and straight onto the dresser before the little Buddha and the restored doll. Cherry blossoms are now dead. Dining room. Ming, Chang, and Lee sit at the three-chaired table over breakfast. Lee sits in Yan's chair. Ming and Chang stare at her. She looks a little too much like Yan. Ming uses a chopstick to poke at his steamed bun. Chang turns to Ming while chewing.
How come you never dance anymore?
Ming puts his chopstick down.
What's there to dance about, Baba?
Father and son stare at each other. Chang looks down, and so does Ming.
I'm going to join the army.
Ming snaps his head at Chang. Chang stares down, continuing to chew his food. His eyes shift up for his son, but he keeps his head down. I'll be nacho.
They're recruiting in town.
I'll only be gone for a while. Selling bodies is not working out. We filled the cove, and I guess someone found out and stole them all.
Ming's eyes fill with tears.
You're going to leave me, Baba?
Tears roll down Ming's cheeks. Lee's eyes fill up with tears. Lee places her hand over Ming's on the table. She closes her eyes. Chang's eyes fill with tears. He stares at Lee's arm. The tracks on Lee's arm appear distorted through Chang's tears. They roll down over his cheek, and the tracks become clear on her skin. Exterior field, day. The People's Liberation Army graduation procession. Red lanterns strung overhead. Balloons waiting to be released. Women in yellow dresses, all the same, lined up. The women sing the war song, Defend the Yellow River. We travel down the rows of military personnel. Wake back up just a little bit. Until we come to Chang in a lineup among hundreds of graduates. He, along with the others, move in accordance with the given command. And that's what I consider orange. I don't know if you guys see it as orange.
Present
Sorry,
arms.
which one? Oh, that one. Sorry, I'll get there.
Present arms. The graduates.
Present arms.
There we go. The graduates execute a rifle salute.
Order arms.
The graduates bring their rifles down to their sides.
Open ranks.
We follow Chang through these motions, then we go to the bleachers where Ming and Lee look on as spectators.
Defend the Yellow River.
Lee looks at Ming, smiling.
Maybe someday you will be there.
She signals to the formation of newly appointed soldiers.
The old man said that the Yellow River will overflow soon, but that was a long time ago.
We zero in on Dai Ming, traveling into his eyes, pure and wide and brimming with military fantasies. Interior house, day. Dai Ming and Li sit at the three-chair table. Li teaches Dai Ming how to do card tricks. She's done this many times before.
When is my dad coming back?
He pulls the red hat down tight over his eyes.
We have a job to do.
Job.
We have to find Wujian.
Your baby sister?
Dai Ming nods and looks down at his cards.
He told you about her.
Li places her hand on Dai Ming's.
I'm sorry that happened to you, baby bear.
Dai Ming snaps its head at Li.
I thought we had a deal.
We did. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. The only thing you need to worry about is school. I told your dad I'd take care of you.
I'm sorry I made you fall in the river, Lee.
Dai Ming stares at Li. He's growing to love this woman.
I'll tell you what.
She shuffles and fans the deck out on the table.
I'm going to help you find Wujian.
Can we make a deal?
Pick a card.
Dai Ming scans the fanned out deck with his eyes and a hand. He chooses the King of Hearts.
I got a king. A king with hearts.
You have my word.
I will never give up on Wujian.
Dai Ming's eyes look pure and intense as they drill into Li's.
You never should.
Li stares back at Dai Ming. The two grasp hands and shake once. Li breaks with Dai Ming's intense stare and looks at her cards. Dai Ming smiles and shuffles his deck. Exterior school, day. Dai Ming walks with Li to school. He stares at the other children, all dressed in the same uniform, navy blue and white. Behind Dai Ming are wooden replicas of children, much taller and bigger than him.
Meet me right here after school.
I don't want to go to school.
Li gets on eye level with Dai Ming, holding his hand in hers.
I know you don't want to go. I get it. But don't you want to make friends and things?
Dai Ming nods.
I just miss my dad and my mom, and it's getting too late to find Wujian.
I told you, I'm going to help you find her.
Li embraces Dai Ming, who pulls away from her.
When? When will you help me find her?
Dai Ming blinks back tears. Interior classroom later. Miss Gladstone, 58, an English teacher from the US, stands at the front of the classroom. She uses a long ruler to point to words and says them, prompting the class to repeat them after her. Who was like, I think that was Lasagna?
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. Okay. Does anyone know where China is on the globe?
Miss Gladstone holds up a globe. She turns the globe until she finds the country of China.
Maybe someday you will go to college in the United States,
She turns the globe and lands on the US.
which is right here.
She points to the globe.
To do that, you'll have to learn a little English. I already know English, Miss Gladstone. Great, then you can teach everyone else. Come on up.
Bam Bang looks around the room, stops at Dai Ming. I'm sorry, Lasagna.
We should let Dai Ming teach us.
The students giggle. Dai Ming looks scared. He hesitates, but he gets up in front of the class, taking the ruler from Miss Gladstone's hand. He's casual in the way he walks and approaches the front of the classroom, like a man's man, a CEO.
What I have to teach you is not what you think.
He looks at Miss Gladstone, who's engrossed in whatever it is Dai Ming has to say.
I'm going to tell you a story. A very important story.
Dai Ming works the room, looking into the eyes of each student, once in a while looking at Miss Gladstone. All eyes are on Dai Ming. All have been silenced and stilled.
There was once a very bad king.
Dai Ming squints his eyes and purses his lips.
He was so bad.
Dai Ming stops on Bam Bang's desk, stares throwing knives into his eyes.
He stole babies.
Bam Bang and Miss Gladstone flinch. The whole room flinches.
And nobody knew where they went. Nobody.
Dame Ming looks down and shakes his head. The students and Miss Gladstone stare at Dame Ming in disbelief. Exterior school, later. Dame Ming waits for Lee. Behind him are the wooden replicas of the children. Other children wait too. Some run across the street to greet their parents, and some walk in groups in different directions. Dame Ming looks around. Miss Gladstone spots him standing out on the street. Dame Ming sees her and gives a little wave. She waves back and walks over to him.
I was impressed with your story today, Damien.
You were?
Yes. Waiting for Mom?
Dame Ming looks down.
I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?
My mom died.
Miss Gladstone places a hand over her mouth and removes it.
I'm sorry to hear that, Damien.
Miss Gladstone looks around at the incoming vehicles.
My dad says she's in heaven, probably.
Dame Ming does the one shoulder shrug.
Even though he said he didn't believe in heaven before.
Miss Gladstone contemplates.
So will your dad be picking you up?
He joined the army.
Parents, students, and vehicles clear the street.
Who takes care of you?
A lady named Lee. She used to work as a mannequin.
Mannequin?
Like this.
Dame Ming strikes a couple of poses, moving and freezing up, a little like a robot.
She told me to wait right here.
Well, that's an interesting line of work. If you don't mind, I'm going to wait with you.
I don't mind, Miss Gladstone.
Dame Ming takes a bag of rice snacks out of his backpack, tears open the bag, and offers some to Miss Gladstone. Miss Gladstone smiles and shakes her head.
No, thank you. Aren't you the polite one?
A little more time passes when no students or parents remain at the school or on the street. Dame Ming sits on the curb and sighs. Miss Gladstone sits next to him, while he examines a solitary rice snack and pops it into his mouth.
I have a great idea.
Dame Ming takes his red cap out of the backpack and puts it on, pulling it down over his eyes.
Why don't I drive you home?
Dame Ming springs up from the curb.
It's okay, Miss Gladstone. I can walk home.
It's not a problem for me to drive you.
Dame Ming walks away from Miss Gladstone backwards. He doesn't take his eyes off her.
Really, Miss Gladstone, I would hate to put you through any trouble. I'm sure Lee is probably just waiting for me at home and forgot, you know?
Are you sure, Damien?
Dame Ming turns around, walking down the street he took to the hospital that night. He picks up his pace into a full-on sprint. Exterior house, later. The sun dips down on the yellow river as Dame Ming turns the street at the hospital sign. He walks along, touching the ends of native plants lining the path, and turns on his street. He approaches the house and sees from afar that the river has pushed the boat even further onto the land, even closer to the step of the house. Dame Ming walks down to the river's edge, where he sees an object sticking out of the earth, a thin, black object. He draws closer to this object, proceeding with caution. Dame Ming stoops down to the ground and pulls on the object, a paintbrush which appears to have had yellow paint on it. He examines the brush and tosses it out into the river, where a body floats near the edge where the seam between earth and river had become obscured. Dame Ming walks closer to the body. He sees this is a body of a woman. Dame Ming shakes. He looks at the house and back at the river again. Dame Ming creeps closer to the body to see, just to see, who this person might be.
Lee?
Dame Ming manages to get as close to the body as possible, just a few feet away, but the rocks and the foliage obscures the body's face. Dame Ming jumps over a stream between rocks and onto a boulder where the body has come to rest. He lands square on the rock and balances himself to avoid falling in. Dame Ming steadies himself on the rock, surrounded by the menacing waters of the yellow river. A wave causes a turn of the body. The head of the body turns with it, and we see the face of Jan. Dame Ming gasps, eyes widened.
Mom,
He hides his face under his hat and in his hands.
Mom, why did you leave me?
He avoids looking at the body, while yet speaking to it.
Why did you leave me?
Dame Ming sobs. Like that. Interior house, day. Damien puts on the red hat in front of the mirror in the bedroom. He holds up to the plastic training knife and practices what he's going to say.
Give me my baby now.
He practices appearing more severe, more dangerous. He looks at the knife, having second thoughts, and takes the hallway to the kitchen. Are the notifications still coming from me?
I don't know,
I think so, yeah.
but I hear them.
Go away. Eesh. Do not disturb. There we go. All right. Kitchen, where a drawer opens and Dame Ming's little hand reaches in for a pocket knife, quite a bit bigger than average, and returns to the bedroom, where again he practices what he was going to say in front of the full length mirror inside the closet. This time he holds up the real knife.
Give me my baby or I'll kill you.
He squints more, purses his lips, and repositions.
Give me my baby or I'm going to kill you fast.
He nods to himself, shuts the door to the closet. Living room. Dame Ming looks out the window toward the spot where the body appeared the previous night. The water has risen. Exterior river, moments later. Oh. Dame Ming looks out again near the boulder where he had seen the body. Only a small tip of the rock is visible now. He follows the flow of the river with his eyes, stronger than ever. The boat is now a few feet closer to the stoop of the house than it had ever been, even last night, when he looked into the face of death. He looks out again over the river, the body resembling his mother, caught in the moving current. The body, floats into the mid-current and is taken by a sudden swoop of a powerful current. Dame Ming runs along the shore, not taking his eyes off the body floating downstream and out of his control.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Dame Ming trips into a muddy embankment, his hat now covered in mud, his pants, shoes, and shirt all covered in thick brown mud. He takes off the hat and throws it down. Huh? He stomps on the hat and falls down again in the mud. He sits in the mud for a little bit. Then he looks at his dirty hands and, scoops up mud. Dame Ming uses this mud to make thick mud lines under his eyes. Exterior street, night. Dame Ming walks down the middle of the main road, not in the way he normally walks, but he now staggers, the war paint dried on his face and the bandana tied around his head. Interior, exterior, hospital parking lot. Dame Ming enters the hospital through the same back door he had seen Lucy go in and out of. This room is a stark white, antiseptic. Medical equipment is stored back here. Metal trays, empty gurneys, wheelchairs, and those smaller necessary items. One day I'm gonna say words right. Stethoscopes, forceps, needles, extra lab coats, and patient gowns, which are folded up into a neat high stack. Dame Ming takes one off the stack and ducks behind a rolling curtain. Thank you, Nacho. Behind the curtain, he puts on a medical mask, struggles against an old wheelchair. He unfolds and sits in it. He practices wheeling around, pushing the wheels and turning this way and that way, forward and backwards. He spins in the chair. We track Dame Ming as he pushes the door into the hallway. He locates the elevator, hits the button on the second floor, and takes the elevator up to a nurse's station, where he inquires of a nurse, 28.
Can you help me find Wujan?
She stands up and identifies Dame Ming as an imposter.
You are not a patient here, young man.
I need to speak with Dr. Wu.
The nurse walks around the counter. Dame Ming rolls away, going backwards down the hallway.
Dr. Wu is not here.
It's very important that I speak to him immediately.
He works in emergency services. What is your name?
The nurse goes back around the counter and picks up a phone. Dame Ming rolls past empty rooms and occupied rooms, looking into each one as he passes, calling out Wujan's name.
You're not allowed to be back here.
We track Dame Ming through the hallway, passing rooms, pushing the big wheel to the wheelchair like he's been doing this a while. He looks into a room, and his eyes catch on someone familiar to him. Tian Yu. Tian Tianu lays on a hospital bed. Ming does a double take and rolls away from the door, then backtracks to the open door. He gets out of the wheelchair and pushes the empty wheelchair down the hallway. A nurse makes her way down the hallway, and Ming hides behind Tianu's bed until the nurse passes by. We follow the nurse as she keeps walking, looking into every open door, leaving some of the closed ones and opening others briefly, then closing them. Ming emerges and peeks out to see the nurse is onto him. He determines that it's all clear and comes out. He looks out at Tianu, rare on the face. Ming point of view, cataract eyes.
Hey, mister.
Tianu's head turns slowly towards Ming's voice.
Who's that?
Tianu moves his head around, like Stevie Wonder.
Kid from town.
The dance?
Tianu coughs. He waves his hand at Ming, signaling to him to stay back.
Didn't think you could see me.
Pointing for the Yellow River. I'd rather be up here than down there.
Ming sits down next to Tianu's bed.
The river is nearly touching the door of my house.
Leave there.
Tianu hacks up coughing.
I'm a good swimmer, mister.
Tianu spits out blood.
Go and release my cat from the cage, if you will. You won't have a chance to force that cat.
Afraid he'll float away?
Very soon, the town, everything will be gone.
Life support beeps increase in frequency. The line runs flat. The beeps become one long one. Tianu stops moving. His eyes stay propped open like a doll staring up at Ming. Interior hallway. Moments later, we track Ming down the hall and into the elevator. Up close on Ming's determined... Wait, was it CU initially? I don't know. Up close on Ming's determined face as the door is shut. When the elevator door opens, it's not Ming, but Lucy and Mike Rowling. We follow them to the maternity ward, where rows of babies have been laid into clear bins and swaddled in the same kind of blankets and little caps. Some of cry, some stay still. Lucy and Mike Rowling put on hospital scrubs, masks, and head caps and enter the room filled with babies.
I need 2 boys and 3 girls.
Mike stares at documents and the clipboard.
Funny how men prefer girls.
I think that's Zanya. Where will they be going?
2 are going to childless couples in Louisiana. 1 is going to India, it looks like.
India?
Just a one-off.
Whatever happened to Wuja?
Which one is Wujan?
You remember, the big brother who tried to keep her.
The one you had to fight for?
Lucy nods, goes into half-assed fighting stance, and does a hi-ya motion with her hands.
Unfortunately, they couldn't make the deal.
Couldn't make the deal.
I just know she wasn't on the list for transfer.
Lucy stares at Mike.
Her wife died or something.
Where is she?
Mike stares back at Lucy. Exterior parking lot moments later. Ming wheels himself out into the parking lot, where the rows of the vans are. White vans with the blue lettering. He retrieves the real knife from his red backpack and abandons the wheelchair, making his way across the parking lot ninja style. He stabs the tires of as many of the vans as he can, working his way down the rows. The tires deflate. A security guard, 28, all about the business of guarding things, walks the rows of vehicles. Some of them are high-end vehicles belonging to doctors. You can tell by the signs that say medical doctor only. The security guard pays much more attention to these vehicles, walking around them and taking a mental note every so often. A car pulls into the parking lot. Ming ducks down in between 2 vans. He watches the security guard, all about the business. Dr. Wu pulls into the parking lot. Spot. The security guard walks up to Dr. Wu's door and knocks on it, patting his hair down in the reflection of the window. Dr. Wu startles and rolls down his window.
Dr. Wu, I'm letting you know we're in a heightened state of security at the moment.
Dr. Wu looks around.
What's the problem?
There's a kid impersonating a patient asking around about you.
Dr. Wu gets out of his car and goes to the trunk.
I wanted to alert you, Doctor.
Dr. Wu retrieves his medical bag and slams the trunk shut.
You said it was a truck?
Yes, Doctor.
What was that noise?
Dr. Wu looks around the parking lot. The van's tires leak out air. Some are already completely flat, some are almost there. Damien takes off running from in between the vans. The security guard spots him.
Hey, stop right there!
Damien breaks out into an all-out sprint down the middle of the street. Dr. Wu stands in the parking lot in disbelief, watching the chase unfold. He presses his key fob, locking his car doors. An alarm signaling the dam is breaching goes off. Dr. Wu looks up and around. He walks to the edge of the parking lot, overlooking the Yellow River Valley. Exterior house, later. Damien arrives at home, where the water now touches the stoop and the door is ajar. He splashes through the overflow, looks out over the river, and enters the house. Interior house, later. Damien plays the air guitar to loud music. He makes breakfast, not caring he's making a mess. He tries on one of Chang's shirts, hanging in the same closet as Yan's clothes. He runs his fingers through her clothes. There's a severity to Damien that wasn't there before this.
Don't worry, Ma.
All the while, as he goes through these motions, he's wading in about an inch of river water. He puts on a tie and a trench coat and a hat, and looks in the mirror as he often does, practicing the fear he can provoke. It's all much too big on him. He puts on a pair of shades and poses in the mirror.
I will find you, my sister.
Lee walks in, disrupting Damien's rescuer fantasy.
We have to leave here.
She looks out the window. Damien removes the shades.
Where have you been, Lee?
Lee contemplates. She looks into Damien's eyes, perceiving a threat of some kind. Lee looks away.
I was looking for you.
You left me alone.
Lee sits down on the edge of the bed and buries her head into her hands. Damien sits down next to her and pats her on the shoulder. Lee looks up, but she avoids looking at Damien.
I'm not a good person. You need someone better.
Damien stares at her. Nothing in his gaze speaks of childhood innocence and carefree days. His eyes have a vibrant quality to them we haven't seen. This is bulletproof glass.
You said you'd help me to find Woojin.
Lee avoids looking at Damien. To look at him would be some kind of death sentence.
I can't even take care of myself.
She stares at the wall when she says this. Tears brim on the lids of her eyes like the river at the door of the house.
We even made a deal, Lee.
Lee is visibly agitated, quite without notice.
Look at this.
Lee shows the tracks in her arms to Damien.
Do you know what that is?
Damien turns from Lee's scars and chooses to focus on the water level rising around them. Lee turns from her self-pity, the reality of what's happening hitting harder. The two stare at each other. We will not come back from this moment.
We need to leave.
Lee pulls Damien by the arm. He yanks himself away from her. She goes for his arm again, clutching harder.
Get your things.
The two run to Damien's room.
You need a suitcase.
Lee bolts back to Chang's room and into the closet. She reaches up to the top shelf and pulls down a carry-on. Lee swings the bag onto Damien's bed. Water seeps in between the wall and the floor. Little by little, the walls and everything is breaking, shattering, being brought to a perpetual heap on the floor. They stop and stare at the water breaching the wall.
We don't have a lot of time.
If the town will be destroyed, then maybe I will never find Woojin.
Lee goes down to Damien's level.
Listen to me. This is life and death.
Damien nods and puts the doll in the suitcase while Lee fills it with his clothes.
The river is not kind.
Baba says it takes, but it also gives.
Right now is not the perfect time to be philosophical.
The two take their suitcases, carrying them over the water, now as high as Lee's shin and to Damien's knees. Damien takes a final look at the house. The two wade through the muddy road, picking up their pace, one high knee after another. The river embankment is no longer visible. Damien and Lee run hand in hand to Chang's old truck, parked over the asphalt. ready with the engine running. Lee sits in the driver's seat. Dae-Ming rides shotgun. The two stare at each other for a moment. Dae-Ming looks back to see the river approaching the truck.
Lee, we really need to get going now.
Lee looks back and gasps for the river approaching. She floors it and goes out into the main highway. We watch them disappear toward higher ground. We revisit the little Buddha and the dried cherry blossoms on top of the dresser, which Dae-Ming left behind. The river's surge tears down the wall. The twin bed floats away. The little Buddha falls into the rapids and floats alongside the dresser and the debris and the dried cherry blossoms. The dresser turns to pieces of wood. The house turns to splinters of wood floating away with cars and trees and rooftops. Everything floats away until we can no longer see it, as all of the debris becomes a part of the river itself. Everything is yellow, like the yellow-clad women of the People's Liberation Army, who flash before us singing Defend the Yellow River. In the perfect lines, wearing the perfect yellow dresses with the perfect synchronized voices that become yellow wave after wave engulfing us. We struggle with the yellow river for much too long here, because we are drowning. And so the struggle ends because we found death, and we go from the familiar yellow to black, black, black. Shh. Nobody speak. Just listen. Exterior Yellow River, day. Yan, Chang, and Dae-Ming sit under the cherry blossom tree, the one that has now been taken to the place where washed away trees go to rest. The sky is clear. The petals detach from branches and cover the ground. Dae-Ming picks up a tiny bundle and hands them to Yan. He smiles and smells them, looking up.
It's raining flowers.
Chang lays back, feeling the sun on his face. Yan lays next to him with a very pregnant belly. Lasagna, I can take your part. Exterior Mike Rowling's house. Oh, wait. Senor, do you want the part?
If you need somebody, I guess.
All right, who? Okay. He, did you want it?
I think she has like 2 different colors, right?
Me.
Yeah. There was a light green and orange. Let's see. But yeah, you want light green heated?
Light green.
Yeah.
Which one is? Oh, that's cut. So it's a new Lucy, or?
Just whatever characters are highlighted as light green.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, sure.
Wait, thank you. And I can take orange. Let's see. Exterior Mike Rowling's house moments later. Dae-Ming sits in the passenger seat of the truck. This is higher ground, but still. We see that residents are leaving their homes for even higher ground.
Where are we?
This is my friend house. He will help us.
Does he have a boat?
Lee looks at Dae-Ming. Dae-Ming shrugs.
What if the water will come up here?
The two look out to behold the river, rising into this higher income, higher elevation neighborhood. The hospital alarm continues to sound off. Families en masse leave their homes with luggage dragging behind them. Interior Mike Rowling's house moments later. Mike packs a bag in his bedroom. Dae-Ming stands in his doorway with Lee. Mike does a double take.
How'd you get in? Who's the kid? Damn cameras don't work.
Lee ushers Dae-Ming into the living room.
Sit down right here. I'm going to talk to Mike.
Dae-Ming looks around. Breakable vases, expensive furnishings, and art decorate the room.
Try not to touch anything.
Lee smiles at Dae-Ming. The door slams shut, and Dae-Ming is left alone.
Where do you plan to go?
The hospital. It's the highest structure around. I suggest you two do the same.
Dae-Ming hears muffled voices. He creeps down the hall and listens in on the conversation.
You're on a hill, Mike. That river is not going to come up this high.
Lee laughs at him.
I've done enough bad things in my time, but I would have put it past your Majesty to take me out today.
Mike swigs a bottle of Tsingtao beer.
The all who?
God, the universe, Jesus, some say.
He drinks again. Then he sits in the bed, slumped.
I didn't know you believe in God.
I do, Lee. And you know what?
I thought Jesus only did good things.
I'm not so sure he's a big fat guy like me.
He smacks his stomach a couple of times.
Today is your chance to right all the wrongs you ever did.
I'm sorry, Lee.
I made my choices, Mike.
They stare into each other. Mike breaks the stare.
So, who's the kid?
Mike's cell rings. He puts an index finger up to his lips.
We are on code red, and anyways, every single van has a flat tire.
Who's that?
Mike puts a finger up to his lips again and glares at Lee. He walks to the window and looks out.
How did that happen?
You won't believe.
Mike rolls his eyes.
Try me.
Lee pets the back of Mike's head. Mike slaps her hand away.
Remember the kid?
Which kid?
What you think, which kid?
Lee crosses her arms, plops down on the bed, and pouts. Interior hallway, continuous. Ming takes the hallway to the living area. He spots a set of keys hanging on the hook in the foyer. He opens the door inch by inch so as not to be heard. He goes out to the driveway and pushes the unlock button on the key fob on 2 different key fobs. The first goes to the Honda, the second goes to the Challenger. He throws one set of keys aside and climbs into the vibrant red Challenger. He backs out of the driveway. He remembers his luggage in the back of Cheng's truck, jumps out, grabs it out of the back. Back inside. Mike is still on the phone with Lucy, and Lee is looking at him all crazy. The sound of an engine.
Does the kid drive by any chance?
Mike drops the phone and runs outside to find on the Honda and Lee's beat up truck. Lee is right behind him. She gasps and covers her mouth with one hand. Mike places his hands on his head.
Wait, where am I?
Oh, we're on Who Is This Kid?
Who is this kid?
He's going after Wu John.
The baby?
Think.
People walk by en masse, en route to higher ground.
Where is she?
Mike stares at Lee. Exterior street, day. Ming drives down the main street. He sees a group of People's Liberation Army Organization soldiers. They load people onto buses. Men, women, children, the elderly, and the infirm carry whatever they can. Ramsey Ryan, 32, gives out water bottles at a tent booth not far from here. He consoles people and gives directions to volunteers. Chairs are set up in makeshift fashion for resting. Ramsey directs the evacuees towards the bus. Ming stops near the tent and yells out the driver's seat window at Ramsey.
Excuse me, sir.
Ramsey looks up at Ming and the Challenger.
You look a little young to be driving.
Ming gets out of the driver's side.
I'm looking for someone.
Ramsey places his hand on Ming's shoulder.
Are you looking for your parents?
Ban Bang walks up to Ming and Ramsey.
He ain't got parents, Mr. Ryan.
Ming looks down.
Did you lose them?
Ramsey looks around the influx of evacuees.
No worries, we'll find them. Follow me.
Ramsey escorts Ming to the chairs while Ban Bang checks out the car. Ming tosses the keys to him incognito. Ban Bang's eyes get big as he catches the keys. He holds the keys in his hand in disbelief.
Wait!
Ming takes his luggage out of the car. I'll be Willow.
I see you brought some personal items. That was good thinking.
Ramsey gives Ming a registration form and a pen.
I need you to write down your name, your address, and your parents' names.
The river took my address.
A volunteer makes announcements about bus departures into a bullhorn. Another one passes out clipboards for people to fill out the lost family member forms. Bang Bang gets caught by Mike and Lee with the car keys. Daming watches them from under a blanket given to him by a volunteer. He hides his face, making sure he's not seen. Mike and Lee look around in the crowds evacuees for Daming. Interior Ramsey's house later. Ramsey helps Daming unpack his bag.
You'll have to stay here until your parents can be found.
Daming nods.
And Wujan?
Ramsey looks at Daming.
Who is Wujan?
He sits next to him. We see close up now, a crescent moon charm hanging from his necklace.
My baby sister.
Where could she be?
Somewhere in the Yellow River Valley.
I want to show you something.
Daming follows Ramsey into the hallway. He opens a door, and the two follow a spiral staircase up to a tower of windows. From here, you can see the entire Yellow River Valley, where we see just how vast the river's overflow really is. Daming goes from one window and the next marveling.
So you just have that sense that she's still here.
Daming nods. Bedroom. Daming takes the restored doll out of the carry-on.
You can put her on the dresser.
He props her up at the dresser, where a rosary is draped over the head of Virgin Mary. Daming stares at the ceramic figure.
I've heard of this. You are what they call a Catholic?
Oh, actually, I'm Muslim.
Daming gasps and scurries away from Ramsey. Down we go.
What kind of Muslim?
Well, it looks like you might know a little about my so-called kind, given your reaction. Sometimes we can't believe everything we are taught. It's probably better that we discuss it in the morning. If you want to find your family, we'll need to get some rest.
Daming slips under the bedding and covers his head.
Do you have any kids?
No. Not that I haven't wanted any.
He turns off the light. Daming jumps out of the bed and draws open the curtains. He sees the city lights, what's left of them. And we can, by shadows cast by the moon's light, make out the steady flow of the displaced, though now their bodies move slow through the night. Exterior day, morning. Coffee drips into a carafe. Ramsey pours some into a cup. He sees from the vantage point of his window a widened yellow river and a number of tents erected on the road. Hallway. Ramsey punches in a code on a door. He enters to a surveillance room. He rewinds the video to see a steady stream of people with backpacks and personal items, children. He goes to another video where Daming is fast asleep. We see Daming at the window, looking at the night before. Exterior street, later. We travel over the town and the higher elevation roads off the main road. The Yellow River has widened to a significant extent, even since early this morning, with perhaps a sign of receding on one end. Some dwellings are completely submerged. Some are submerged just up to the window. Survivors sit on roofs, waiting. Soldiers patrol the streets. Other military personnel take motorized rafts out for rescue operations underway. Daming, it's flickering a lot, signs evacuees in on a clipboard under Ramsey's direction and hands each person a bottle of water. He sees that in place of the ditched Challenger is now a tented space with a family surviving on the side of the road. A small fire has been ignited at this campsite, where a woman consoles a baby about 8 months old. This is Daming's point of view on the baby, who looks a little too much the way Wujan might look today. A grouping of soldiers walks up to Ramsey at the operation. We cannot hear what they're saying, but we do see that Ramsey is uncomfortable with the interaction. He takes out his wallet and produces his ID, flashing it to the soldiers. They move on, driving along the road, stopping to interact with whoever they run into. Daming's point of view, a tent and an abandoned motorized raft. Bam Bang emerges from the tent looking around as if lost. Damien goes over to the tent, where Bam Bang flicks a lighter over and over again, which never lights. Bam Bang hugs himself and hangs his head down. Getting feedback from Reich Willow.
Where are your parents?
Bam Bang shrugs.
What is it to you?
Damien holds a clipboard out to Bam Bang.
Sign your name and your parents and write down your address.
I don't think they made it out. We were by the river.
Bam Bang points in the direction of the river where dwellings have been wiped out. In some places there is only water, and the very tops of the curved up pagoda roofs. Damien extends his hand to Bam Bang.
We're going to get them.
Bam Bang lights up.
Wait here.
Damien eyeballs the motorized raft that's been left on the side of the road. He gives the clipboard to a volunteer and explains the job.
We just have them sign their name and address here.
He reaches into his backpack and pulls out the red bandana, ties it around his head. He motions to Bam Bang to meet him at the raft. The two boys run for the raft.
Take that side.
He nods at Bam Bang. Bam Bang does as he's told, and the two determined boys hoist the raft up to their shoulders. Daming and Bam Bang run down the hill toward the Yellow River. Ramsey's point of view. He sees the two boys placing the raft in the Yellow River overflow.
Deming, get back over here.
There you are. Daming stands up on the raft and cups his hands to the sides of his mouth.
I'll be back. We're going to get Bam Bang's parents.
Bam Bang's reaction is one of disbelief and hope and fear intermingling in a mixed emotional response. Daming pulls the engine cord several times. The engine fails to activate.
One more time.
He nods at Bam Bang.
They're coming.
Bam Bang point of view. Ramsey and a squad of military rescuers run towards them. He uses an oar to push off from the edge of a half-submerged street sign. Daming prays to the heavens, pulls the cord again. The engine turns on and they take off. Daming almost flips out of the boat as they pull away. He steadies himself. Bam Bang smiles. The two set off for the rescue operation. The foot soldiers run up to the edge of the river and earth. One of them is none other than Chang.
You know them?
Chang plays it off.
No.
The soldier stares Chang down. Ramsey runs up to the grouping of soldiers, looking on as Daming and Bam Bang motor away.
Deming?
Chang stares Ramsey down.
You know these kids?
He was abandoned, is my understanding.
Abandoned.
Chang's eyebrows furrow. His eyes zero in on the crescent moon charm around Ramsey's neck. Ramsey nods.
Why do you ask?
Ramsey stares at Chang, awaiting a response. Chang tilts his head, contemplating an answer. Exterior, Yellow River overflow, continuous. Daming and Bam Bang following the mazes of river overflow in between rooftops. A search and rescue effort is underway, a distance ahead. Rescuers lift an elderly man, 80s, and woman, 78, being off a rooftops. Bam Bang point of view, a dead cat floats a few feet away. Clouds cover over, holding more anticipatory rain.
Those are your parents?
Bam Bang shakes his head.
No,
He drops his head and sobs.
we'll never find them.
We will find them. We will.
A dog swims in the water ahead. It hangs its tongue out like it's business as usual, and this is just a casual swim. Bam Bang reaches in for the newfound pet.
Help me get him.
Daming and Bam Bang clench the dog's fur and pull it up. The two struggle a moment to lift it all the way into the raft.
Ugh, you're heavier than you look.
Bam Bang searches the water with his eyes.
Got any friends out there?
Bam Bang pets the dog, who's taking a liking to him. The dog shakes and sits at the hull, waiting for the next rescue. This canine is ready for action. Daming and Bam Bang stare at each other for a moment. Bam Bang pours water from a bottle into the dog's mouth. He, Bam Bang, smiles for the first time.
We will find your parents.
Daming scans the river with earnest, where a clear path has been laid out for them through floating cars and homes.
And my sister.
Bang Bang lights up.
Your sister?
I know she has to be here somewhere.
Daming rows a bit faster, searches over the destroyed village with determined eyes. Bang Bang studies Daming's face.
I didn't know you had a sister.
Daming's point of view. A mountain road curving up into the vicinity of Ramsey's house on the hill. He could swear he sees the top of the tower from there, peeking up out of the mass of trees. The sun's angry face time lapses down by the second on the betraying river. A spectrum of colors transition from orange to red. Exterior river, night. The sun has long disappeared, and we are at the last of the day's light. All is still, very still, over the surface of the overflow. Only the delicate sound of the raft slicing through water. The only man-made light is at their backs. Bang Bang's head hangs low near the face of the dog. His eyes are closed. He shakes and mutters words with no sound and breaks out into crying. The dog lays there, unbothered by human calamity.
If we don't go back now, we're going to die out here.
Bang Bang cries. Daming ignores Bang Bang and the body floating face down near the boat. The body bumps up against the side of the boat. Bang Bang flinches and sobs. He avoids looking at the body. Daming stares at Bang Bang with the whites of intense eyes. He, Daming, uses an oar to push the body away from the boat. He watches the body, caught up into a rogue stream, slipping down and out of sight.
You'll get used to it.
Daming rows in between rooftops, down trees, and the car is tossed about, now in the silence. Then, a woman cries and prays in the distance. Bang Bang wipes his eyes with the back of his hand and jolts out of the pity party.
Do you hear that?
Where'd it come from?
Daming and Bang Bang look around in the dark. The cries become longer and more intense.
That way.
Bang Bang points in the direction of floating debris. Daming rows faster. Exterior street, same. Many more tents line the side of the road now, but the numbers of volunteers has gone down. Ramsey walks down to the line between dry ground and the river's overflow, where he saw Daming leave on the raft. He looks at his watch. Chang's point of view. From the inside of an armored military vehicle labeled police on the side. Sizes up Ramsey, now walking up the hill to outreach location in the tent. Ramsey gets into his vehicle with Chang following close behind. He follows him up the hill and to his house, just a few minutes' drive away from the destruction. Ramsey looks into the rearview mirror and does a double take. He realizes he's being followed just as he's pulling into his driveway. He gets out of his car and approaches the military police vehicle where he sees Chang. Chang nods at him.
Can I help you with something?
His stare down commences, and we go back to exterior river, continuous blackness. The woman cries. Sorry, hang on. Lost you. The woman cries into blackness. We cannot see yet where she is now. But then, a hint of the woman's silhouette comes into view. The raft approaches. The sound grows louder until we see the woman. She holds a bundle close to her chest with one arm. With the other, she steadies herself on top of a submerged vehicle. Daming shines his flashlight into the woman's face. She appears to have gone through a shredder. Daming and Bang Bang stare at her in disbelief. Daming holds out his arms, the bundle in her arm. Bang Bang helps the woman off the unstable car, bobbing and threatening to tip her off. Daming looks down into the face of a baby. The baby doesn't move, doesn't cry. Baby stares up into the dark sky. The woman sits in the raft. Daming hands the sacred bundle to the woman. She cradles the dead weight, sits down in the boat, while shell-shocked. Daming stares at her. He stares at the deceased baby.
I'll take us back.
Thank you.
She rocks back and forth and stares out at the vastness of the overflow. Bang Bang takes the oars, turns the boat around, and heads to dry ground. Daming sits motionless on the raft. Exterior street, later. Daming and Bang Bang deliver the woman and the baby corpse to the developing tent city. They sit the shell-shocked mother on a chair and scour the area for Ramsey. Daming approaches a volunteer, tending to a small fire where several other survivors have gathered around, talking story.
Has anyone seen Mr. Ramsey?
He went home for the night.
We have a lady with a baby. She needs a doctor. I think the baby is dead.
Take me to them.
Ming leads the volunteer to the rescued woman, still holding the baby and rocking back and forth. The volunteer checks the baby for a pulse.
We're going to get you to the hospital.
The volunteer goes down to her eye level and tries to make a connection with the mother, but she only stares off into the betraying river overflow.
Let's get you over to my van.
The volunteer helps the mother stand up and leads her to a van parking at the outreach center. Ming and Bang Bang follow him. He opens the passenger door and assists her in climbing in.
We're going with you.
Yeah, my parents might be up there.
Ming looks up at Bang Bang. He looks off toward the river, which appears higher up on what was dry ground not long ago. Ming slides the van door open and the two climb in. The volunteer climbs into the driver's side and commences the drive up to the hospital. We see the van going turn on the hospital sign and a military vehicle driving straight on the road passing highway signs. As Chang crosses path with the van, Ming sees the grill where prisoners are kept. The face of Ramsey sitting in the back. He stares at him in disbelief. The two lock eyes.
I just saw Ramsey.
Ming taps the volunteer on the shoulder.
You have to let me out.
We really need to get this woman to the hospital.
Deming, calm down. That paddy wagon is long gone.
Don't worry, everything will be sorted out.
Ming watches the van turn onto the highway and disappear out of sight. He drops his head and cries.
It's going to be alright.
The van comes to a stop. Ming slides the door open, jumps out of the van, and runs down the middle of the street after the paddy wagon disappearing in the mist. Exterior hospital, same. A third of the town teams around the outside of the building wrapped in blankets, recovering from near death and or looking for loved ones. Some have serious injuries, others help out medical staff. One thing is sure, it's chaos. Interior hospital, same. Miss Gladstone sits in a patient waiting room, appearing wrecked like everyone else. Her glasses are cracked and her clothing torn. She pushes a stroller forward and back. We see that a baby, about 8 months old, sits in the stroller. Miss Gladstone takes her out of the stroller and holds her, making faces at her and staring into her eyes. Interior military vehicle, moments later. Ramsey sits bent over in the back, handcuffed. No windows here, only a grill. From where Ramsey can see the road is increasingly covered in water. He looks into the rearview mirror, making eye contact with Chang, who drives without much effort over the flooded street.
What is this about? I've done nothing wrong.
Chang ignores Ramsey.
My people need me.
I'm under orders.
Orders? What orders?
You will know more when you get to Xinjiang.
What's there?
Chang ignores him. Ramsey looks out the grill at the road, where water now blocks the entrance in and out of the city. The military transport vehicle comes to a full stop. Exterior road, moments later. The volunteer drives up next to Ming, who walks down the street appearing dejected. The door of the van slides open and Bang Bang pulls him in. Bang Bang consoles Ming with one hand on his shoulder. The volunteer looks through the rearview mirror.
You kids are a couple of heroes. No sense running around out there.
He stares at them through the rearview mirror and back on the road before him. Bang Bang's face lights up. He contemplates the idea of being a hero as they head up towards the highest point of Yellow River Valley to the interior military vehicle. Moments later, Ramsey hangs his head down in the back. The outside light shines on his skin through the grill. Ramsey lifts his head, making eye contact with Chang in the rearview mirror again. Large-sized raindrops hit the windshield.
Who are you? Really?
Chang's face is set like a stone. He ignores Ramsey and takes an off-road where there's less flooding. Chang's point of view. Headlights shining on trees becoming more scarce as we make the turns. More silence passes through particles circulating in the light before us, and the turns becoming hairpin curves. Chang's eyes perk up. His face softens. A woman wearing a long white dress walks along the side of the road. She looks like Jan, wading through ankle-high river overflow, unscathed by the unfolding disaster. Chang rubbernecks to get a better view of the woman. He swerves, nearly hitting a tree. Ramsey falls to the floor on the back of the paddy wagon. Chang comes to a full stop. He stares in disbelief as the woman appearing as Jan skips to the water, enjoying the splashes. Jan spins around with her arms out and palms facing skyward, just like a child.
Just sit tight.
Chang gets out of the vehicle.
Suppose you can just let me out of these handcuffs. We could be underwater in a minute.
Ramsey watches Chang through the windshield. He talks to someone or something into the air. A full-on conversation with a ghost. His mouth moves, but we don't hear words. Chang sobs with his whole body as he falls into Jan, as if to bow before her. She envelops him in light. Chang disappears into light. Chang reappears. Chang lifts his head and looks around, appearing disoriented. Jan, no longer before him. He runs to the tree line, the flooded tree line. His combat boots almost disappear underwater. He performs high knees to get through the increasing water flow. Chang disappears from the tree line and then emerges again. He wipes his face. Rain hits the windshield harder. Chang climbs back into the driver's side.
Are you okay?
Chang stares into the trees in disbelief.
Is there something I can help you with?
Chang contemplates the question and sobs. The heavy doors of the military vehicle open and light from the moon shines on Ramsey's face. Chang stands in the open frame of the doors. Ramsey's cowers. Chang enters the paddy wagon and unlocks Ramsey's cuffs.
You can go.
Ramsey looks around, with a little bow to Chang. Ramsey runs down the road in the overflow from the direction they came. Chang disappears around the corner and follows the sign to Xingshan. Exterior hospital parking lot, same. Mike and Lee sit in the Challenger in the parking lot of the hospital with a clear view of the Yellow River Valley.
We could just go to Beijing.
Nacho.
Mike, please.
Please what? I'm probably going to go to hell no matter what I do.
You don't know that.
Mike looks down at his protruding belly.
I eat what I want, take all the women I want. I'm a dealer of potions and people.
Mike, just shut up.
Really, Lee, I'm scared out of my damn mind right now.
He looks at Lee like only she can save him now.
You don't.
Lee taps Mike's shoulder over and over with each shush.
Look, shut up.
Lee's point of view. Ramsey runs across the parking lot toward the entrance of the hospital.
Who's that?
The kid is here.
Lee opens the door and climbs out of the Challenger. She dips down and looks at Mike through the window.
We don't have time to condemn ourselves. This is the end. Let's do what we can. Please God or the gods, whatever it is, before we die.
Lee runs in the direction of Ramsey.
Lee, wait, don't leave me.
Mike hits the steering wheel with two balled-up fists and buries his face into the steering wheel. A tree crashes on the hood of the Challenger, cracking the windshield coming a few inches away from Mike's face. Mike cries, much like a baby. Exterior road, like that. Exterior road, same. Chang stops just short of the city limit, where flood conditions make it impossible to pass. He turns around, and we pass an arrow sign pointing to the Yellow River Valley. Interior hospital, same. Ben Bank's point of view. A man and woman sit together in the triage. One has a bandaged head with a large blood stain seeping through. They both look around at every person walking by.
Mom, Dad.
Ban Bang runs to his parents who embrace him. This and that. Regular found family kid type of stuff. Damon's point of view. The happy family reunited. He smiles. He frowns. He looks around. Finds the fire escape stairwell where survivors are laid out in various states of being. Damien takes every other step, going over people.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
He shoulder rams the door of the 8th floor, barely able to catch his breath. He scours the hallway. Daming comes face to face with Dr. Wu's nurse.
Have you seen Dr. Wu?
You are really not supposed to be here now. You are very busy, as you can see.
The nurse signals the patient load covering nearly every inch of the hallway. Miss Gladstone sits nearby, holding the baby. Daming sees the side of her face and could swear he recognizes her in her glasses. He walks towards her and sees that she has a baby with her. Daming turns around, not intending to engage with the teacher. He has his own baby to find, but then, our point of view. She picks up the baby and cradles her, and she says her name. She says her name. Her name is Wuja. Daming freezes dead in his tracks. What's the name of the-
Rujan.
He turns around.
Miss Gladstone?
Miss Gladstone stands up from her chair to embrace him.
I'm so glad to see you, Demi.
Rujan.
I've been looking for you.
My sister. You found my sister.
He stares into Wujan's blanket-framed face.
I've been taking care of her for you.
I don't understand.
Miss Gladstone hands Wujan over to Daming. He gladly takes her, but with a confounded look on his face.
Your father came to speak to me. I knew I was looking for a baby to adopt, to take back to the States with me. He told me how much you love your baby sister and that you even named her.
But when were you going to tell me?
When the time was right, Deming. It looked like the river knew all along when the time would be.
Mother River.
Daming's eyes swell with tears.
I've been looking all over for you.
Niagara Falls is happening on Daming's face, but he makes his face like a stone, the way Chang does, and wipes his tears. Wujan smiles the way babies do, untouched by the disaster that's unfolded. Miss Gladstone follows Daming with Wujan in his arms, as natural as the course of a river. The three step out of the doors of the hospital to exterior hospital same, Chang's point of view, Daming holding a baby. He runs toward his son.
Daming!
The two run toward each other. Chang drops to his knees in front of him. Chang holds his arm out to his son.
You came back?
Daming hands Wujan to Chang.
This is our baby, isn't it? Wujan.
Chang looks around.
This is our baby, Baba.
Chang stares at Wujan, and he looks. He stares and stares and stares at Wujan. He embraces Daming again. One arm holds Wujan, one arm embraces his son. Miss Gladstone stands nearby, wiping tears away from her eyes. Ramsey, Mike, Lucy, Dr. Wu, Bam Bang, and his parents. Think you that from Mike Borgata. Okay.
What?
There was
sorry.
feedback just there. But you have a line coming up. And his parents gather around his family.
You found her.
Chang holds his family and weeps.
You found her.
I knew she was still alive.
Daming looks out over the river.
Mother River gave her back to us.
They all stare out at the river in awe. The looks on their faces have all turned from despair to hope and awe. Exterior river, day. Daming, Bam Bang, and Wujan on the clean side of the river. The yellow side is not far off, and has receded from how we last remember the hillside appearing. Daming wears the red bandana tied over his head. He stands at the hull of the small but new and sturdy fishing boat. Bam Bang, too, has a red bandana tied around his head. He stands with Daming, staring off toward dry land, where a restoration process is underway. We can see from the new construction and construction workers busy at work. Wujan, too, leans over the side of the boat, marveling at the fish, which we can see clearly, swimming around. We see Wujan's face coming into view, with the sun behind her. A net full of fish on the floor of the boat. Bam Bang studies the river, relaxing on one end of the boat.
You think the river will overflow again?
He studies Daming.
Someday, years from now, maybe.
Dai Ming stares at Wu Zhan. He smiles from ear to ear. We have never seen him smile like this. This is a new person. He again looks up and onto the higher elevation of the clean side of the river where Yan appears, standing on the hill. Chang, Ramsey, Mike, Lee, and Lucy appear with her. Even Miss Gladstone is there, and Dr. Wu, scattered over a vivid green mountainside. They appear to have been strategically placed there. Each of them stares off in the direction of Daming, Babang, and Wu Zhan on the boat. Daming picks up Wu Zhan and lifts her up to the sun. Not onto the sun, she giggles. Ban Bang uses the oars to take them toward what appear to be apparitions on the hill. Though they appear solid, they do not behave as humans. Ban Bang stands up with one oar in his hand, looking up toward the hill. He too is a new man.
We are the Yellow River Rescuers.
Dame Ming and Ban Bang declare in unison, pumping their fists.
The Yellow
River Rescuers.
Nailed it. And we fly over the Yellow River Valley, taking in a full view of the two rivers, the clear side and the yellow side by side flowing in harmony. The new town being rebuilt, the shrinking appearance of the boat, and the three survivors declaring their newly established identities. And we continue to zoom out to behold the entire region. The hillside disappears completely, then the entire country, until we see the Earth from space. We zoom out even more to see Miss Gladstone holding that globe in her hand, standing in a classroom that does not take place in a room with desks. This is a universal classroom. This is a different kind of classroom. This is a classroom that only the world can teach. We somehow get a sense of this with the world being held in the hand of Miss Gladstone. Then we go to black. We stay in the blackness for just a moment longer than we would expect, being as it seems darkness holds nothing for us. But then we are shown that indeed it does, and we see the words gradually come into full view. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Woo! Excellent job reading, everyone!
Woo!
Sharing. Ugh.
Oh, wow.
Every time I read something long, I gain a new familiarity with how much I hate hearing myself talk. I like whistle when I say S. I have a list.
You did so well reading all of it.
Sullivan.
You did great.
I like grunt in the back of my throat sometimes, like I'm tight, like a duck. But
I don't think anyone noticed but you.
but yeah, excellent job to all of you. You're great actors, everyone, and thank you, Roman,
Thank
for
you.
being the main character with
I
such
basically was.
pathos. But yeah, let's check again. Oh wait, no, the feedback was just general. Okay, yes, okay. I'm not gonna go down the line since like a lot of us have trouble like giving feedback immediately after having read it, including me. So like, who would like to go first in getting feedback for the other river?
I'll give something that I did listen, but I don't know if my feedback will be accurate if
Yeah.
I like forgot anything.
Or later, if you want.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, this is feedback, right? I'm feedbacking?
Yeah, you're feedbacking.
Okay, I'm feedbacking right now. Okay. So a thing I thought so I really love this. This is super well written. I love everything about it. There was one thing I was unclear about, which was like the age of Xiaoming, and like I think we said it at the beginning. How old is he? Real quick.
Oh wait, yeah, you're asking how old. Let me check.
I have to actually go back and look. I can't remember his age. I think it is he's like 10 years old or something, or 11 years old maybe.
He is
Okay. The note that I had was that the tone he takes on, like the age he seems at the beginning, is like a little kid. But when he talks to Miss Gladstone, he seems like an older kid, like a 10-year-old, like an actual 10-year-old. But in the rest, it just seems like he might be 5 or something. And I just thought that was a little off. And like that's the only note I really have. The rest of it is amazing. Good job. You did great. But
Thank you.
Thank you, Zaya. Let's see. Yeah, again, anyone with immediate thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm
Oh.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Roman. Any feedback, Roman?
Oh, I thought, okay, well, I didn't want to interrupt. But I was just gonna agree. Like, I think Damien or whatever, he was pretty consistent to me, but there were sections where it felt like he felt a little more mature, a little less mature, and it could be like I'm not sure if the age consistency was 100% all the time, but it was a good like character. I really liked him, and like he's a very good protagonist, and I think it's a great character. Just that would be my one thought about that character specifically.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roman. Nacho, what about you?
Yeah. So first, just let me apologize. I missed the first part of this, so I'll have to go back and reread that to give a bit better feedback. But like for me, I think the biggest note that I would have is that, and this is something I wrote a novel about an older sister looking for her baby brother, right? And that was kind of dealt with some of the same issues. It's a very different story, but I feel like it's very hard to follow a child this kind of journey if there isn't at least some time for him to get to know the baby, to form that, like, if imagine if we have at least, I don't know how long, that depending on the scope of your story, but some period of time where we see, Demi with the baby, taking care of the baby, maybe even separated from the parents, and it's just him and the baby or something. And I guess it depends a little bit on how old Demi is, if that's even possible. But that could really make it powerful to see this kid trying to get the baby back, right? Because he was the one taking care of that baby, and we saw him at least for some period of time, like that. And I think it's a little bit hard with the very young protagonists. Like, how do we, how does he solve the mystery of where this kid is? And like, it just felt like I would zero in on Deming and just really kind of give him a strong motivation to find the baby, and have him be driving the story a little bit more in the second act. Like, he's following up on, and I think you kind of have this. I think he has a really strong moment, like where he sort of pulls the plastic knife on, I think that's Lucy. I was a little bit just confused about, and maybe this is from some of the pages that I missed at the beginning, but just about the American guy selling drugs in the village, and C and Lee, and like how this is all kind of tied together with these people. But I think just sometimes it felt like they were more driving the story than Demi. And so I would just try to really zero in on Demi, give him, clear goals in each scene, and have him, use his tactics to try to like get the things that he wants. I think it felt you have some really nice writing on the page, and some of the scenes, it's really nice. And I think you have in your opening, you have some really cool, it's just visual sort of, lyrical moments that are fun to read and just very visual. Like, you can just see this like interesting images and stuff. I think I would just really try to punch up like the main character, Deming. I think it was fun, hearing Roman's interpretation. I think Roman did a nice job. But I would really try to sort of center the story a little bit more around Deming's search, which that's is like a mystery kind of story. What happened, baby? Where is she? And that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. That's true. Because I get off track with him searching for the baby, like in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I realized that.
And I mean, I think there are a couple different directions. I mean, I think the other thing is the flood is really cool. It felt like I like, just the imagery of the flood. I mean, I don't know. So this could be something like Deming and the baby, get separated from, maybe like the dad gets separated, the baby is born and Deming's there, and there's the flood coming early or something in the story, and then they're separated and Deming, just the only one able to take care of the baby. There's a flood and he's got to save her. And I mean, I don't know. It depends on the scope. Like, do you want this to be something that's a story taking place over a shorter period of time or whatever? But felt like that, like I would like to see Deming and the baby have more, screen time together. And I guess, yeah, those are kind of the biggest notes, and it's not easy. I mean, this is a really kind of nuanced story with lots of different layers. I would also encourage you to find, someone who lived in China during this time period to maybe read it and just give like a sort of, feedback based on their experiences, and like I'm not that familiar with, what like it sound. I think, I'm not that familiar with like the laws and the politics of China in those days and stuff. So, but I think it's a really, there's lots of great things here. I think I just try to really find the heart of this, which is like Deming searching, right? Deming trying to solve the mystery. And it's tricky to do this with a young protagonist, just like, I don't know. But I think there's a way to do it. And yeah. And I'll give you more feedback after I go back and read the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah. I guess again, I just got in like at the last 25 pages, so I don't really know what's happening. But so just off of vibes, I guess I don't want to sound obvious or cliche or anything. I hate being like that, but it reminds me of like at least the way that I visualized it. It was like Chungking Express. The director is Wong Kar-wai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's very it's realistic or grounded, or but at the same time it's very ghosty. So it kind of reminds me of this Cali Blues, which is it's a Chinese film. It's by this director Bai Gang. So it kind of reminds me like that. It's very ghosty, but at the same time something real is happening. Something just as simple as just families reuniting. Um, Also, it has the feel of this one other movie called Rebels of the Neon God. Um, Again, another Chinese film where everything is normal, but it feels everything is realistic, but it feels that there's a ghosty presence around. Like it could fall into magic realism whenever it wants, in a sense. So from the last 25 pages, that's what I got. Um, I will say that sometimes the dialogue is too on the nose, where like there's no real character. It's just more people saying what they have to say. This is what happens. This is what happens. This character has to say this. At least that's how it felt for me. But again, I'm just getting in at the last like 20 pages. But there should be a bit more color in the dialogue. It just all felt really too on the nose. But the emotion is there and the plot is there. I'm trying to look for. I'm reading the script again. I'm just trying to look for a moment to tell you where it was to. Yeah, for me that's how I felt. But format wise, I see that you have a lot of montages, and I think you played it pretty well. It really cuts us. It really just helps with the pacing. And the one part that really stood out for me that I really enjoyed, I don't really see it too often, but it's when she's saying the baby's name. Her her name is, and then it just like she says her name. Her name is Wujan, right? Like I like how you really broke that down like that in that type of slant. Other than that, that's all I could really give. But good work.
Thank you. I do see, I was thinking that when I was listening to you guys reading about how some of the dialogue is like, well, that's what they would pretty much like naturally say in a situation. So I probably saw it somewhere or heard it somewhere, because it's just like, well, obviously they're going to say that. So is that what you mean? I think that's what I'm understanding. But yeah, I do understand what you mean by on the nose too. Thank you.
Thank you, Heated. And anyone else who wants to give feedback right away?
Sure. I'll
Yeah. Please don't glitch out. Damn it. Willow, why?
I'm gonna cry.
It was so perfect before we could hear.
Yeah. We had the
Why
whole
does this
sentence.
always happen to her?
Oh.
Wait.
Don't laugh, poor Willow.
Every time she starts to speak, the hand of God swoops in and punishes us.
I feel so bad. She's
My
got good things to
robot
say.
Willow.
Yeah, it's funny because the light's still coming through. She's muted and we can still hear her.
That's right, Willow from 10 seconds ago, Robot Willow.
I love you too, Willow. Sorry. I'm sorry, Willow. I love you. Oh,
Please don't go, Willow. Please. No.
I think that we caught up with ourselves.
you can type your feedback. It's okay.
Yes, please. I do want to hear what you think, Willow. I'll just type it and I'll read it out. Okay. That was an emotional undertaking. Anyone else coming out the gate with feedback?
Yeah,
It's like a time
yeah.
travel thing.
Wait,
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
Okay,
Let's see if
okay.
that makes any difference.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry,
server.
Someone put the playback speed too slow.
Willow remix. Anyway, yeah, if no one has anything yet, I can try to give some thoughts. My jaw hurts, but yeah, the thing Joel said about the action line to dialogue ratio. Joel said, in the nicest possible way, I think we heard way too much. If I had to guess, I'd say 60 to 80% was action lines, and I kept losing focus during those parts. But yeah, I had so much to say, and it was Willow Slayer, right? That was what it was called. We read that last year. It had a similar problem where just there's a lot of cool detail in here, but there's also a lot of redundant phrasing. Uh, I might, if you're okay with it, I might like go through at some point and show you a parallel version that maybe says things more concisely, just like a page or two. Let me try to look up an example I saw. It's a big old document. It's gonna take a while to Command F this.
I had an example.
I found it. But you go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, it was these are the garments of a deceased woman, which is, I don't know, it was kind of a bit weird. Like we wouldn't see this, on screen. It's a bit of a non-filmable. It would be better. I don't know. I was gonna say it'd be better to describe the clothes, but generally that's a bit of a no because that's costume job, not your job. But I don't know. I think describing the actual clothes would be better on this line, this bit of a line. You know, there's another example.
Also, are we supposed to think that Lee is uncomfortable right there? Because towards the beginning, Lee seems like sort of a callous person. It sort of was weird that like she would have hang-ups with that. Because like the average person would, but Lee I didn't think was that considerate. I don't know. I have misread that, but sorry to interrupt y'all.
Yeah, that's fine. The other bit that really, stuck out for me was this line as well. Some lane one way, some other thing another. That feels really redundant and, a bit kind of pointless. So yeah, I think your action lines are really where your script lets you down. It's a good story that works, but it's just the action lines just don't work, unfortunately.
But yeah, the fish are held in boxes, kind of like big sardines. That's kind of too confusing a comparison because they are fish, but they're not sardines. They're packed like sardines. But yeah, what are
Thank
you
you.
saying, Joel? Sorry, I keep on piggybacking off what you're
Oh
saying.
no, that's fine because I was finished anyway.
Okay. The one I found was we can halfway down page 95, a little bit towards the end of 95. Bam Bang 2 has a red bandana tied around his head. We could have, even this part, even the Bam Bang 2 has a red bandana. We could say like Dae Ming and Bam Bang wear red bandanas around their heads. Dae Ming stands at the hull of the small but new and sturdy fishing boat. Maybe not in that order, but you know what I mean. And then towards the end of this block, he stands at Dae Ming staring off toward dry land where there's hip words. And then the last sentence right here, we can see that from the new construction and construction workers busy at work. I was going to say make it less redundant, but I would say just take that line out. I think where a restoration process is underway, I think that automatically implies like construction and things of that ilk, because that's what goes into restoring like a
Mhm.
river, I assume. But Roman says condense fragments more wordy, but not always novelistic, but wordy, if that makes sense. Willow says,
Yeah, like on that point, I would just say like I felt like I didn't think it was over descriptive in a way. It was just too many words to get to a description that I don't think was too descriptive. It was just too wordy. If that it's, I hope that makes sense.
yeah. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
thanks, Ron. Willow says, so I was saying that there were a couple spots I got confused, especially surrounding Lee. Thought Lee died twice, then she was in the next scene. Did I miss the explanation? And a lot of dialogue. They don't feel like they're talking to each other. Someone asks a question, the question gets ignored. Personal pet peeve of mine. For a while, I thought Lee was a ghost that Damon imagined. A lot of words to describe one action. Yeah, I was confused too, but I always get confused when I'm reading something out loud. Goldfish brain can't handle both at once, I guess. But
I think that's the thing for most people, to be fair.
okay, that's good. I'm glad other people struggle with it. Well, but yeah, like there are other examples in here. But yeah, as Roman said, not too descriptive, but the few things that you are describing are very much the padding out a 10-page essay. I like shoving in a bunch of, I forgot my phrases, or there's a grammar term that I'm looking for. I'll figure it out later. But yes, do the opposite of padding out the 10-page essay. Like, really condense it because it's interesting stuff. But like, I want to see the interesting stuff instead of like. Who else? Anyone else have feedback for Liska? If I think of something, Lasagna says no typos in its first draft. Are you God? Willow says, oh, and I didn't understand why Chang kidnapped Ramsey. Lee wasn't dead. It was a body looked like me, right?
I can understand why that would be misunderstood also, and I didn't know how to articulate it. It was just hard. It was hard. It was just hard, you know.
Definitely, that's under. I never even like completed a feature, so like I can't even imagine trying to like tie up everything. Roman, I think Lee wasn't dead. It was a body that looked like Lee. What didn't? Wasn't that Jan's body though? That Daming found.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
believe it
was.
was. I was just someone I think earlier who said that they were confused that they thought Lee had died or something.
Oh,
So I was
okay.
like, I think it was just Lee's body. That it looked like Lee's body, but it wasn't actually her. For like a split second, he wasn't sure.
Also, the way Mike's story ended was kind of weird to me. It's just like and like maybe I missed it, but I feel like we didn't get to build up too much in the story, like the themes around God, what we do with life, and the idea of mortality, and like whether or not some omnipotent entity is looking down on us, like when people who pass that we love, we like pray that they're in a good place. And Lucy and Mike have this sort of, for me, out of the blue conversation about like, I know there's still time to please God or whatever, and like do the right thing or just keep going or something. And Mike pitches a fit and is a child lost in a car. It was Lucy, right? Who like went to chase Ramsey. That was an odd conversation for me. But I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, or like if anyone else sees the significance of that scene more than I do. But I will come up with more stuff as I come up with like more articulate ways to say it. I'm just a smushed snack cake on a parking lot right now. Chang seemed to be hiding that he was Daming's father. Willow says, like towards the end, you mean? Wasn't that because Chang didn't want Daming to get gotten? Or was Daming in danger? Ugh. But yeah, sorry, but I hope some of the feedback I gave does help a little.
Yeah, I appreciate any feedback. Yeah, I got tired just listening, just trying to focus on listening to it, you know, listening, just keeping up with what's going on, and I wasn't even doing any of the reading. I feel exhausted right now.
It's okay. It's always nice to read through a feature, and there was a lot of like cool stuff going on. I like the very tense scenes in the river, and like sort of how you deify the Yellow River, you know. Someone mentioned earlier it was like the Wang He or Huanghe, or is that the other river? I'll look it up. Willow says for a first draft it was very well done. A few tweaks could change a lot. Wow. Hello,
I'm not
Pollock.
going to be officially rewriting anything until next year because I want to try to write 4 features this year. That's what I did last year. So then in 2024, I would start rewriting these, the ones that Connor says are worth rewriting, if that makes sense. Some of them, like The Widow Slayer, will probably never ever get made because there's too many expensive things that happen. And then also with this one, The Yellow River, like how do they create that for film? I have no idea. I don't know anything about it. So to me, it seems like it would take a lot of money, right, to make a movie like this. The Widow Slayer for sure, because Connor said that the Widow Slayer would cost like $250 million to make.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much the question of like if you start replacing a boat with new parts little by little, and suddenly you're out of original boat and now it's a new thing. It's very much like you can carry over the story you kind of want to tell in Widow Slayer and like cut down some of the effects, change the story a little bit so you don't have to have them. But then it might as well be another film. So yeah, I do see what you mean. So it's still 2000.
I just I try to finish the projects as projects for the practice of writing, just to
I
get the
need to take a page out of
practice.
your book.
So maybe someday.
You need to
I'm
take a page
sorry.
out of your book. That's like the thing like you're supposed to do and people are so bad about doing, but that you're doing perfectly. And I just don't do it. I don't finish things. So that's a very good strategy. It's very impressive.
Yeah, to get that practice in, because then someday maybe you will, come up with something that's, good, after because that's what Connor says, as soon as we've written like 30 scripts, then maybe we'll be good enough,
Yeah.
to actually sell something or whatever. But yeah, I appreciate you guys reading and stuff, and I know it's a lot of parts and stuff, and it's tiring. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, and Dan says there are a lot of passive actions, like the wording, if I remember correctly, was is on the phone. Good point. Everybody's talking about 2003 now. I'm gonna look up the Chuck Jones quote that reminds me. Oh God, ugh, disgusting. Okay, Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones quote. Chuck Jones story. Everybody knows who Chuck Jones is. Like the yeah, Looney Tunes guy, and animated some a little bit of Tom and Jerry and the Grinch, stuff like that. Yes, okay, I found it.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because when I was writing this, and I'm like being really vulnerable right now, I probably cried like 20 times during the writing of this.
Oh wow.
At
Yeah,
what points?
throughout the entire thing. It's weird. I'm not sure why, because I've never even been to China.
It didn't strike me as a very yeah, okay, the kid, the mom, he wants a baby is lost, but I
don't think so.
does that make me heartless?
Maybe. I'm kidding.
I mean, I thought it wasn't so
No.
much the like sad parts that were like really powerful. I thought it was like more the inspiring parts, like towards like
Yeah.
the end and Daming's determination. I thought that was the most emotional part. Pollock says I only cried
I
once
did
already.
not I did not cry, but I did tear up a little bit. I don't really know why though, but I think that's because my tear ducts are very I cry all the time.
Well, I assume, Melissa, you meant by that you're asking if it's odd that even though you're not really familiar or emotionally attached to the source material, like the story that you drew up, like you were so emotionally invested in that. And yeah, weird stuff does happen with emotions and like the art you make. Because like we could cry about a story about dragons or elves or some shit and like, oh yeah, I haven't met those, I haven't been around those. But I care because like I know the story. It's somebody made up about this made up world. And even though like China is an actual thing and like God, I'm so bad at saying things. But do you get the dragon thing and how we don't have experience with that, but we can feel emotions towards it anyway, and you don't have experience with the struggles of the Yellow River in China, but you like made a story about it.
Yeah, it's like,
So
why would I even care? Why would I even care about this? It's like it was weird. Like when I got the idea, I was like, why do I even care about this?
Mm.
And I don't know. I think there's like weird things about the river, the two rivers coming together. I think there's something behind that because this is actually a real place. Like there really is a yellow river that runs alongside a clean river. And I wanted to get the point across of the father and son being reunited as the two rivers coming together. And then the river, it's because of the river that they found the baby because they wouldn't have all been together at that same spot at the highest point of the river valley. So I wanted to kind of, and I didn't want to like, I think that's probably why I repeat myself a lot, is because I'm like afraid that you guys won't understand what I'm trying to say. So then it's like I'm being redundant to make sure I get my point across, if that makes sense. Like in rewording things or even just restating them to like, I try to do like the underlining and stuff. But yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate that.
yeah.
If I could ask the writer a question, what inspired this? Like, do you have the film in mind that inspired you?
I wasn't inspired by a film or anything. About 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I watched a lot of like Vice News and like documentaries, and I think it was a documentary about the Yellow River overflowing. And then recently, like probably in the middle of me writing this, the overflow of the Yellow River happened again, and this was like a historic overflowing because it took out so many villages and people and stuff. You can look it up on YouTube if you're interested in it. So there was something else though that inspired it. This is what inspired it. I started doing research on the Yellow River like 2 or 3 years ago when I first found out about the overflowing of the river. And there's a lot of supernatural things about that river, but I didn't want this to be like a supernatural script. I didn't want it to be like about like ghosts or like but I guess there is a ghost in one of the scenes, right? But there's a lot of mythology behind
Yeah,
that river. Yeah, so I think that
it's
that is what.
when she's in the car and she looks back and she kind of sees the other guy, but he's not really there. And I guess he's talking, but we can't hear his voice. That's what this superstitious vibe came in for me.
Oh. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys giving me feedback on this and doing such a good job on the reading and stuff.
Yeah. And to amend something, okay, bye, Dan. To amend something I said earlier, I do not like uh mean to compare like the suffering of real world people to like a fantasy world because like the reading online right now, like it's called The River of Disaster, Mother River, China's Sorrow, Cradle of Chinese Civilization, all this stuff. It is a real world struggle, and like as long as you get outside contribution to make sure you're doing it justice and make sure you're not, I don't know, misrepresenting the struggle or something or trivializing it, which I don't think you're doing here, but yeah, it's just an extra add-on I wanted to touch on.
Hey, Gray.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my first time doing a table reads in this channel. How does it work? Because I see that I guess we read the whole script, but I guess with the colors, also a bit confused me.
So I'll explain the colors first. When we get really long scripts like features, we get a lot of characters typically in them, and we don't get too many volunteers generally, and so we go through and color code the characters instead of just like handing people a list of like, okay, you're all these. You just say you're this color. When you see this color, voice that character. And in regards to submissions, Joe and I are okay. I like posted a blurb about the table reads in the chat. There's a 5-page submission form, which anybody can submit a 5-page script for free, and the complete feature or pilot reading, as we just did, that costs 100 script coins, which you can, achieve. You can attain script coins by choosing to participate in table reads, by giving feedback, or acting as a character. So, like, you're gonna get some after the event when I hand them out. But yeah, does that answer everything?
How do you get coins?
By participating in a reading.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
But
So
yeah, it's sort
a
of
little bit later on, Gray will sort of give out coins, and you'll get a ping when she gives out all the coins to everyone who read or gave feedback.
yeah. But yeah, it's a sort of incentive because you get 100, get a full reading. But yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, Fantasy Workshop's up now. If you guys want to go check that out, it's a very fun event.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you,
Yeah. Thanks a lot
Workshop.
for coming. I'll see you next week. Thank you, Aliska.
Thank you.
Good reading, guys. Thanks for hosting, Gray.
everyone.
Thank you.